Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. What's going on, y'all? What's going on? What's going on? Man. So it's a good thing that I posted this last night. And I was hoping to be able to do a reckless streams with you guys earlier. But when I realized that wasn't going to be the case, then I realized I had to post it a little bit later, and well, here we are. So for those of you that checked out the link, what you have here are educated, um, educated and educators, right? So Dr. Jared Ball, Dr. Julian Malvo. If y'all hear me mess up and say Susan Malvo, my apologies in advance. And yes, Susan Malvo is Julian Malvo's cousin. Susan Malvo, for those of us that know or that remember, Susan Malvo was the cute, like super fair skinned sister from CNN. Yes, that's Susan Malvo. That is Julian Malvo's cousin, like literal, blood relative. Um, Julian Malvo, shout out to BGS, very pro-black, been in the scene for forever, labor economist. Yes, she always sounds like that. Yes. And yes, that is the same, if I recall correctly, the same Julian Malvo that was in DC for the reparations conversation back in, was that what, 2019, maybe 2018, for anyone that remembers, right? So yeah, for anyone that recalls. So yeah, so she for those of us that watch this link, yeah, when that Gynocracy attacks. So yeah, Dr. Julian Malvo, and I'm, all respect, so I'm gonna continue to call both of them by their PhD name, and even the host, if I'm not mistaken, master's degree. I think she said also educated, so advanced degree for the host, PhD for obviously Dr. Julian Malvo and Dr. Jared Ball. Dr. Jared Ball, Afro studies, but he's big on media literacy and propaganda and whatnot, and so I would argue Dr. Julian Malvo felt slighted that he even mentioned her in his book. um and if y'all hear, so for those of you that just want to get a quick understanding of where the argument stems, it's around the 8 minute and 40 mark, 8 minute and 45 mark. Once again, the link is in the description. It's only going to take about a minute or two, but yeah, around the 8 minute and 45 second mark, the host of the show reads the passage where Dr. Julian Malvo is mentioned in Dr. Jared Ball's book, right? Once again, this is Dr. Jared Ball's book, The Myth of Black Buying Power. I think it is edition 2, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. My apologies. Compassionate. Give me 1 second. Okay. I thought you, because I saw you say that earlier, and then I thought you had you thought you was having a busy weekend, so I did not think that you were going to be able to do it still. Give me 1 second. Here we go. Here we go. Right. And there we go. And that is for compassionate only right now. I don't think I'm going to be able to do a panel today. So this is for compassionate only. Right. So, you know what, compassionate, we're gonna have to set something up. So I'm gonna have to start chipping compassionate off, because I might be able, but that's the thing. So Sundays are still reckless streams. It's just every once in a while I'll okay, I'm gonna have to figure something out with compassionate on this thing, because yeah, especially if he's off on Sundays, we'll figure something out. And all right, compassionate, you up here. And we'll yeah, so that I can maybe have these type of streams where we can actually show what the hell Z is talking about. Oh yeah, so if we're gonna do that, what is it? Fair use. Right before I start getting getting strikes from YouTube and the host. But yeah, for those of you that saw the link, you'll see that in the beginning, it sounded like it was going to be pretty cordial. Julian Malvo answered Dr. Julian Malvo, sorry, answered the question. And you could see she disagreed with him. She, it was more disagreement in tone. Ooh, and it's so easy. I'm all respect for my elders, and she's a PhD. Ooh, this is going to be a hard one, y'all. Ooh, this is going to be a hard one, because Dr. Julian Malvo clearly Okay, give me 1 second. Okay, all right, there we go. Yeah, and Dr. Julian Malvo clearly, um, she had an issue with the tone, and so did the host. And shout out to y'all because read some of you guys comments in the comment section. Thank you for keeping it professional. And if any if anybody goes over there, remember we represent the Black Manosphere. If you are gonna put in comments, keep it. Shout out to Vic. Shout out to all of you that were in the comments. Ismail, I think I saw you in there too. Keep it professional. Remember, we are talking about academics. We gotta represent ourselves well. Shout out to Media Man. Shout out to the brother Obsidian. We gotta represent ourselves well when we engage with people that have the ears of politicians like a Dr. Julian Malvo, right? So like if we're gonna engage with them, yeah, we definitely gotta be, um, yeah. Snowman, you're gonna have to. I don't know how long you want to be back there, but you're gonna be back there for a minute because I'm gonna go over this, right? So, yeah, um, but yeah, so if you don't mind, compassionate, let's first start it around the 8:40 mark, and then if anything, we'll backtrack later. But I want to kind of start off from the passage that Dr. Julian Malvo was mentioned in, and then we'll work our way forward after that. So you can press play whenever you're ready.
Of a flawed understanding of where this myth was coming from, and that's all I was saying. So it wasn't.
Hold on, let me read what you said that calls out her name. It says, what magnifies the impact of buying power claims is that they are largely promoted by and even the product of a Black commercial press who would transform the original concept into one designed to specifically target Black audiences, beginning with John H. Johnson and carried throughout Black commercial media to today via the National Newspaper Association, target market news through popular journalists, academics, and media personalities, such as the owner of this station, Tavis Smiley, Tom Joyner, and Dr. Julianne Malvo, and also traditional civil rights organizations, including the Urban League and the NAACP. The myth has been propagated for two primary reasons. And then you talk about the reasons. The first, less known and garnering far less attention in the overall conversation, is that buying power is used as a means to attract advertising revenue by convincing white corporations of the potential in the Black consumer. The second reason for so heavily propagating the myth, far more popular and far more mythological, is as a means of collective uplift of empowerment. So go ahead.
No, so as I was attempting to say, so again, as you just read there, this was not a hostile call out. It was I was citing examples of popular pundits, academics, activists, journalists, etc., who have helped spread the mythology. And then in the context, of course, of explaining the history of the myth, its origins, and why it does not fit. May I finish this one point? Because yeah, it's very important that if I could, because I was doing it in context of comparing the mythological claims surrounding buying power with the actual economic data and reporting that is being produced by economists about the condition of Black people in the United States. So the second edition of the book has a foreword from Dr. Derek Hamilton, who is one of the leading economists in the country on dealing with these and related issues, who supports the work and its general argument. I cite a lot of economic data. So Dr. Malvo pointed out, made reference to Mr. Gibson and a book from last 75 years or more ago, written by someone in advertising and marketing, which is exactly my point, not dealing with the actual economic conditions of the time. So at the time Gibson was writing that book, in, I believe, around the 30s and 40s, you have economists who I cite in my work from that time to now, who were critical of that idea and that concept and that argument, and were laying it out back then from the economic point of view. So today, when I'm citing work like the Run a Court paper, which shows that Black wealth cannot collapsed given the starting point of enslavement, that we need massive federal involvement and redistribution of wealth if we're going to actually engage the real problem. That's what we're talking about. And I'm trying to get people away from the citations and the sources Dr. Malvo was just using, which come from advertising and marketing, which is where the buying power concept comes from. It is not an economic concept. It is not used in economic analyses that are directed at explaining and understanding the condition of Black people or any other community in this country or around the world. So that's what I'm trying to explain through the myth. It was not to start a fight or to call people out. And as Dr. Malvo and you could attest from just reading it, there was no hostility or inaccuracy involved.
Well, let me just say this: the book is
you can pause it right there,
70
Compassionate.
Billion in the Black.
So essentially what Dr. Ball, from what I'm hearing, was saying in that passage was, could we have all gotten it wrong, and could we have all been gaslit with these people playing this very interesting word game where they're talking about buying power, they're saying the term, but they're leading us to believe that that buying power equals a certain level of wealth and economic power that it just doesn't, right? And so that's what I'm hearing from Dr. Jared Ball. And the fact that he listed off a bunch of other people, not just, he didn't single out Dr. Julian Malvo. And, as he said earlier, like, he mentioned a bunch of civil rights leaders and whatnot. So it's like, I'm not coming at you. I'm just saying, have we thought about this the wrong way? Now, for those of you that you're just now watching this and you're like, well, I didn't see her go too far. Oh, but no, she go in on him on some, like, if she was around him, it would be some hands throwing. So, what's very interesting about this conversation is you see Dr. Jared Ball come face to face with the Gynocracy, right? It's not even on some academic thing. Y'all haven't seen it yet. Compassion, if you don't mind, we're gonna start from the beginning in a minute. But yeah, no. So I just wanted to play. I should have had Compassionate pause it a little bit earlier than this, right after the host read the Miss Avery read the passage, but I just want to kind of frame this. That was the beginning. Y'all heard her read the passage, and so y'all heard that that was from my understanding, the only time she was mentioned. So what I'm glad about is when I first watched this, I was thinking to myself, oh man, okay, I'm gonna have to go get the book, or I'm gonna have to go find somewhere where her name is listed. Oh man, okay, so because I knew I wanted to cover this because I want to show with some of the PhDs, the brothers that are educators, particularly in these colleges and universities, what they are dealing with. For those of us who are not in academia, that is not our lane. We kind of poo-poo some of our academics for not standing with a Dr. T, right, or with a Dr. Dunbar or whoever, right, with a Dr. Green Gorilla, with a Dr. Ron O'Neill, and I'm showing you what they're grappling with. So just like some of us are grappling with the Gynocracy in the hood, we're grappling with the Gynocracy in our white collar environments, we're grappling with the Gynocracy in our blue collar environments, we're grappling with when the Gynocracy becomes lead HR manager or whatever. The academic brothers, the educators, are also grappling with the Gynocracy, even when it has nothing to do with Black men, Black women intimacy, Black women, Black men relationships, childbearing, child rearing, any of that, right? Even when we're supposed to be having a relatively civil discussion, even disagreement about Black people's economics, do we expect a little bit of chair throw in when you start talking about Black people in politics and which direction we should go, and as a collective? Yeah, I think that it's gonna get pretty serious, right? But just for your name to be mentioned, and by the way, you weren't even singled out, and it wasn't even aggressive. Even the host couldn't, when the host read it, she couldn't even hold Dr. Jared Ball's, when Miss Avery read it, she couldn't even hold Dr. Jared Ball's feet to the fire for anything he said. That is how Dr. Julian Malvo's name was mentioned. What did Dr. Jared Ball say that was disrespectful, right? So if you don't mind, Compassion, you can start from the beginning. Yellow. Okay. Compassion might be ready. I might be preoccupied. So yeah, no. So I just wanted to cover this today to show how the Gynocracy
First of all, good
first. Oh, there we go. There we go. Go ahead. Go ahead. You can play it.
evening. Greetings. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to meet you and to have this discussion and to have a chance to talk about the work. The short of it is that we often hear about Black people having what is usually now said to be about $1.8 trillion in buying power, and that were we to exercise greater degrees of financial literacy and responsibility and financial maturity and entrepreneurialism, we would be able to close the wealth gaps and income inequalities and overturn our economic condition, and then have the appropriate levels of money to engage politically or in any other way like any other community. And what I've been trying to show for really over a decade or more at this point is that what we are taught to conceive of as this concept of buying power is a misrepresented advertising and marketing revenue concept that has nothing to do with the actual wealth Black people have, and is really just a marker of money Black people could potentially spend on the products owned, produced, and marketed by mostly white ad buying companies and corporations. Buying power in the phrase buying power, the word power in the phrase buying power, does not mean what we are encouraged to think it means in terms of actual economic strength or a potential for us to use any pool of existing money or wealth to improve our conditions. It just simply does not exist. That's not what we're talking about, or what that's not what it actually is, despite what it is represented to be in the press, which is another level of the discussion that we can get to. But that's the initial point that I'm trying to make. Buying power is an advertising and marketing phrase that is meant to help ad buyers direct their ad spending and to accumulate whatever sales they can from a target audience, in this case, Black communities. So they present it as buying power. It's misrepresented in often Black presses and Black targeting presses as an economic strength. And then from that, we get a lot of mythologies around the economy itself and what we could actually do within this economy to change our relationship to the economy.
All right, I think Dr. Malvo has joined us. Good evening, Dr. Malvo. Thank you for joining this conversation.
This is when it gets good, everyone.
You are a labor economist, so you know a whole lot about the economy and what these concepts mean. Do you agree with Dr.
By the way, she's jabbing at him just with that.
The concept of Black buying power is just an advertising tool that's used to target those that are trying to get money from corporations and to tell them, hey, there's something out there called Black buying power, and if you give me your money, I can talk to those Black people and they'll buy your products.
Yeah, I partially agree with him, and I partially strongly disagree. The agreement is, of course, he's right. When you talk about the income in the Black community is very different than the wealth. So when you say, I don't have his numbers in front of me, but let's just say that 30 million Black people earn on average $60,000 a year. And I'm overstating because that's families. But if you say that, then you can fluff it out and make it into trillions. And so, yeah, there's an overstatement there because that's gross, it's not net. Do you take out for necessities, rent, blah, 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 utilities, life? So I think that he's right that the number is so often overstated. But I think that he's absolutely wrong to minimize the work that's been done to look at the net value of the Black community. It's not worth. We have $1 for every roughly $10 that white people have, which is not a lot different than in 1910, it was $1 for every $36. So we have not tried to close the wealth gap. However, we do spend money. And the reason that corporate America chases us is because we spend money. We overspend on certain things, and it's not an overstatement to say that we overspend on certain things. We can go back to D. Park Gibson was actually, I believe he was a Coca-Cola executive or maybe Pepsi. I'm not sure. But he wrote the first book about Black consumerism called The $30 Million Negro. back in the late 1950s, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have my numbers in front of me. Crazy day. But D. Park Gibson wrote that book, and he basically showed where we overconsume. So corporate America, who wants us to spend, should invest in our communities. And he broke it down, and then years later, he wrote an update, and I forget the title, but it was like $60 million Negro. And again, looking at our relationship to consumerism. And so here's my thing, Professor Ball. If we are over consuming, should not those same corporations overspend on us? And that's so regardless of the issue of wealth accumulation, which is important, and everything else, what is our relationship to corporate America? And can we essentially leverage that into support for various things? Here's the thing that I think is really important. We look at, they support everything else. They support the National Rifle Association. Why should not they support the NAACP, the Urban League? And by support, I mean, this is where you and I may be together, or maybe not.
You could put it on 125 compassionate.
Don't buy a table at my dinner. Do something to essentially assist the development of Black economic infrastructure. So, you know, we all run to them to get a table at the dinner, to do this, to do that. And these numbers are used, but let the numbers be used to talk about economic empowerment. So I don't think we're too far apart, but frankly, I don't like this that you threw on me in your book, not one bit. I'll just put it out there, but you know, just do you, boo.
Okay.
Pause right there, compassionate.
Dr. Ball, you do.
I promise y'all it's about to get worse. That's just the beginning. That's just the beginning. This has nothing to do with her disagreement, because what her issue is it's almost as if he's stripping hope out of the conversation, stripping the ability for Black people to use their dollars, or Black people like a Dr. Julian Malvo to leverage Black dollars against corporations, so corporations can turn around and invest in Black organizations, et cetera, et cetera. BGS already said this. This is an old argument. So she can't necessarily come at Dr. Jared Ball with the wealth argument. That's why she conceded that from the jump, if y'all noticed. Her thing is, yeah, but we can leverage our buying power. We may not have the wealth. Our income is, on average, pretty low, and so all of those income dollars are pretty much caught up in the necessities of life. That's why y'all see Mr. Z push back oftentimes with that Jordans and Weave stuff. Yes, we do got wayward nephews and nieces and even daughters sometimes and sons that spend their money frivolously, but that's not on average, because quite frankly, your average Black person don't really got it like that. So she concedes that point, right? Then it becomes, but we can still leverage the money we do spend against the corporations, right? So that's why, you know, I think it was Elkston that says, I didn't see her really disagree with him yet, because she really can't. He's talking about the wealth and how black people, including Black leaders going back decades, kind of got gaslit with the Black income, Black buying power, Black wealth, and almost using them interchangeably, right? When they're not the same thing, right? So yeah, and if y'all notice at the end where she and that's why I made, and shout out to Compassionate for this, that's why I made sure Compassionate played the passage first, so y'all can see Dr. Jared Ball didn't really go at Dr. Julian Malvo. He essentially said, have we gotten this wrong? Have we been playing into these pretty much elite, wealthy white people's hands this entire time with the conversation about Black wealth versus Black buying power? And as you can see, this is her response, right? And it's gonna get worse. This is nothing yet. And go ahead and actually wait. Compassionate. Wait, pause it real quick. And Leon says, and thank you for the super chat, Leon. Yes, Mr. Z. Most Black men start from the floor with no foundation. You have to buy just to have something. 98% isn't handed down to the next generation. So yeah, if that number is actually correct, that's yeah, generational wealth. Yeah, whatever. And actually, I'm gonna do some research on exactly what you said, Leon, about how much life insurance money is actually passed down to Black people. I wonder if there's somewhere where I can find that. I'm gonna look into that. yeah, I might have to do some math on that. Oh boy. But go ahead, Compassion, you can unpause.
I'll call out Dr. Malvo. You call out some other African Americans that names that folks may know. Why do you do that? What's your point of calling out these noted African American leaders?
So the point,
he wants to fight. He doesn't. So basically, I'm up for the fight, bro. I'm up for the fight. I'm your elder. I'm a seasoned economist. Bring it.
So
okay, pause right there, Compassionate.
Sure what is meant by
First off, let me say this to the Dr. Jared Balls and to the Geechee Yaws and to definitely Diallo Kenyatta. Y'all may not like us. Y'all may think we are some retrograde, misogynistic, wannabe white patriarchal. Some of us wannabe Hotep brothers that just want to stand on black women's head in the middle of the street. But as you can see, a couple of my subscribers went in the comments and they defended Dr. Jared Ball, and they did it. They were standing on business and they did it respectfully, and they pushed back respectfully, and there was no misogyny in their tone or any of that. What y'all just saw here was Miss, and I kept on saying Avery, my apologies, I kept on mispronouncing her name, Miss Ava, asked Dr. Jared Ball a question. And before Dr. Jared Ball could even get the first letter of the first word out, forget syllable, the first letter of the first word out, Dr. Julian Malvo jumped in the way and said, "Please, you want to fight?" Wait a minute, he disagreed with you. That means he want to fight? The man is saying to just about everybody black, especially black scholars, have we gotten this wrong? Have we been gaslit? Right? There's something deeper here. We have a problem here. It seems like they're playing a game with us to get us to spend whatever dollars we do have to spend with them by lying to us about wealth, about that. The problem is the way we spend our money. It's not that we don't have any wealth, right? Oh man, what a sight to see. Right? I gotta read this one now. I'm sorry, I gotta interrupt my whole statement. And Dr. T says, to be a feminist and to have to constantly battle gynocrats, you keep getting hit and you won't let yourself understand why. And yeah, and I watched Dr. Jared Ball, Diallo, and Geechee Yaw speak about this. And I want to say it was yesterday on it's not Earn Your Liberation, right? On Dr. Jared Ball's channel. And you could see them talking around it, right? Especially when we get into tone. Ooh, and did they try to tone police Dr. Jared Ball? Y'all will see it later, right? And when we get into tone, oh, it becomes very blatant. And you see this with Dr. Julian Malvo. I disagree with you. First of all, you disagreed with me in public by putting my name in the book. That's number one. Number two, your tone and delivery. This is why I said to FD Signifier the first and second time he was on my channel, wait a minute, you tone policing us? Right? BGS is welcome to my world. So I'm covering this, y'all, to show you the gynocracy is everywhere. Right? That gynocracy is like Visa, right? Accepted everywhere. Or it's not MasterCard, I can't remember. But yeah, so it's accepted everywhere, right? The gynocracy, when it comes to checking a black man, the gynocracy doesn't take a night off. Right? So yeah, I definitely wanted Compassion to play that last clip where she pretty much said he just wanted to fight. It's like the man disagreed with you. That means he wanted to fight? Is that what we are with it? And apparently we are, right? And Compassion, you could unpause.
That if Dr. Malvo read my book, as it seems that she might have, then Dr. Malvo, you would be aware that I wasn't calling you or anyone out to start a fight. In fact, I was referencing people across the political spectrum, some with whom I agree, some with whom I don't, only to point out the prevalence of the myth of buying power and how it's distributed and often misunderstood. So it wasn't that I was trying to pick a fight with Malcolm X or Dr. King or Amos Wilson or any of the other people, yourself included, that I mentioned, or Du Bois or Garvey, all of whom at one point or another adopted or attempted to adapt a version of this myth, and all of whom were working off of a flawed understanding of where this myth was coming from. And that's all I was saying. So
hold on, let me read what you said that calls out her name. It says, what magnifies the impact of buying power claims is that they are largely promoted by and even the product of a Black commercial press who would transform the original concept into one designed to specifically target Black audiences, beginning with John H. Johnson and carried throughout Black commercial media to today via the National Newspaper Association, Target Market News, through popular journalists, academics, and media personalities, such as the owner of the station, Tavis Smiley, Tom Joyner, and Dr. Julianne Malvo, and also traditional civil rights organizations, including the Urban League and the NAACP. The myth has been propagated for two primary reasons. And then you talk about the reasons. The first, less known and garnering far less attention in the overall conversations, that buying power is used as a means to attract advertising revenue by convincing white corporations of the potential in the Black consumer. The second reason for so heavily propagating the myth, far more popular and far more mythological, is as a means of collective uplift of empowerment. So,
okay, you can pause right there, Compassionate.
No, so
once again, now I did it the right way, and I paused right after the passage. What out of what Miss Ava just read, where in that is the disrespect? Where is that is mean-spiritedness? Where is that any way of dressing down the person that you disagree with? A very well-known and established Black PhD. Where in any of that did anyone hear Dr. Jared Ball? And remember, if you listen to Miss Ava speak, Dr. Jared Ball mentioned other people. Once again, it didn't just go at Dr. Julian Malvo. Where in any of what Miss Ava, what in anything that Miss Ava read, did y'all hear any disrespect? Any insults? Any belittling? Even a condescending tone? Miss Ava just read what Dr. Jared Ball put in his book about Dr. Julian Malvo. And it's essentially saying, we've been gaslit. Maybe we need to think about this differently, right? And he's even disagreeing with Malcolm and Martin, with Amos Wilson. These are people we mention all the time. I'm saying, like, oh man, where's the disrespect, right? Right. Go ahead, Compassion. Go ahead. And thank you for the super sticker, BGS.
So again, as you just read there, this was not a hostile call out. It was I was citing examples of popular pundits, academics, activists, journalists, etc., who have helped spread the mythology. And then in the context, of course, of explaining the history of the myth, its origins, and why it does not fit. May I finish this one point? Because it's very important if I could. Because I was doing it in context of comparing the mythological claims surrounding buying power with the actual economic data and reporting that is being produced by economists about the condition of Black people in the United States. So the second edition of the book has a foreword from Dr. Derek Hamilton, who is one of the leading economists in the country on dealing with these and related issues, who supports the work and its general argument. I cite a lot of economic data. So Dr. Malvo pointed out, made reference to Mr. Gibson and a book from last 75 years or more ago, written by someone in advertising and marketing, which is exactly my point, not dealing with the actual economic conditions of the time. So at the time Gibson was writing that book, in, I believe, around the 30s and 40s, you have economists who I cite in my work from that time to now, who were critical of that idea and that concept and that argument, and were laying it out back then from the economic point of view. So today, when I'm citing work like the Run-a-Court paper, which shows that Black wealth cannot be collapsed given the starting point of enslavement, that we need massive federal involvement and redistribution of wealth if we're going to actually engage the real problem. That's what we're talking about. And I'm trying to get people away from the citations and the sources Dr. Malvo was just using, which come from advertising and marketing, which is where the buying power concept comes from. It is not an economic concept. It is not used in economic analyses that are directed at explaining and understanding the condition of Black people or any other community in this country or around the world. So that's what I'm trying to explain through the myth. It was not to start a fight or to call people out. And as Dr. Malvo and you could attest from just reading it, there was no hostility or inaccuracy involved.
Well, let me just say this. The book is called 70 Billion in the Black. That's one of the books. That was released in 1978 by D. Park Gibson. There's another book called The 30 Billion. I think that's the one you're talking about, Dr. Malvo, called The 30 Billion Negro. That was released in 1969. And I guess for me, what I'm trying to get at, and I think what Dr. Malvo is saying, there's disagreement, is this concept of a myth. So Dr. Malvo, Dr. Ball says
exactly what BGS just said.
Citing folks like this D. Park Gibson, who's not an economist, who's a marketing guy. But I'm still grappling with this concept of the myth. Do you agree that there is this myth around Black buying power?
Dr. Ball has a point about whether we're talking about income or wealth. And those are two different things. And Derek Hamilton, by the way, Dr. Ball, just for your information, since you throw in slings, is a dear friend and a mentee.
Look at his face.
You know, if you want to fight, Brett, I got it. Seriously. Now, in terms of, if you know anything about, you know, I'm a pugilist. I don't play. When you start dropping my name in your book disparagingly, it's a fight.
It wasn't disparaging. I wasn't disparaging you at all.
I am talking. You had your turn. Guess what? Now it's mine.
Wow.
You know?
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It's like that. D. Park Gibson was a marketing executive who worked with one of the civil rights organizations, and what he was attempting to do, and I consider him an icon, really, in terms of looking at Black buying power. Black buying power is different from Black wealth. So for that point, I do agree with Dr. Ball, but I also think that this myth thing is misconceived. We do have that much buying power, and we use it, and we should leverage it. We should leverage it. If we're buying so much Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, whatever. I mean, I wrote a piece years ago about we should boycott everything that's red because we overspend on red stuff. Our buying power must be recognized. But buying power and wealth building are two different things. So that's, I think, where we do agree. But there's a whole lot of disagreement and there's a whole lot of disrespect up in here.
Dr. Ball, again, I'm just trying to get to some.
Pause right there, compassion.
Disagree. You.
You know why I'm laughing? I am laughing a bit, just a smidge, just a teat. I don't like to see brothers down. I don't, especially PhD. Right? I let the PhDs do their fight. I already told y'all, Mr. Z is a community college dropout. I'm not even on this level, nowhere, no how. But watching Diallo and Dr. Jared Ball mock us over here, huh? Watching them mock us and make fun of us over here, because y'all know I watch Earn Your Liberation. I am subscribed to Dr. Jared Ball's channel. I've been rocking with Dr. Jared Ball since I Mix What I Like. Right? I was here when he was first working on this book, the first edition, The Myth of Black Buying Power. And so watching Earn Your Liberation and watching Dr. Jared Ball and Geechee, y'all, but not so much all the time, but Dr. Jared Ball and Diallo Kenyatta mock us and make fun of us over here as essentially some He-Man woman haters. And here Dr. Julian Malvo is taking your head off, and it really ain't about it's the fact that you had the nerve. Let's reframe that. The nerve to disagree with her. Point blank, period. She told you put my name in your book, so it's war. Harold Joy says disrespect because he said miss. Right? No, and it's still not, right? Compassionate says Dr. Jared Ball is getting his gyno Negro wake up call. Still not, right? And once again, Dr. Jared Ball and Diallo and Geechee spoke around it when they spoke about this on Friday, I want to say. But they still ain't addressing what this was. You got jumped, Dr. Jared Ball. As a matter of fact, Geechee was kind of making fun of him about that, right? You got jumped. Right? Good point. And Dr. T says the problem here, Z, is that Dr. Jared Ball takes this as a singular incident and not reflective of a larger misandric ideological position. And they mock the word misandry, by the way. Yes, Dr. Jared Ball, I've been watching. y'all mock misandry over there, that word, right? Like we done made it up. And here you are getting clubbed in front of us. Dr. Jared Ball, you are getting clubbed in front of us. It was the disrespect of Dr. Jared Ball was so blatant. It was so blatant. It gets worse. By the way, LAR says, The new book will be The Myth of Disrespect. Right, and this is a perfect time to read this. And thank you for the super chat. The dark, I said the dark, see, dark, the black toxic masculinist, right? And he says, Naker, keep my name out your mouth. How dare you? And essentially, that is the energy, at least that that is the energy I'm being hit with watching this. I expected disagreement, right? Because I already knew of Dr. Julian Malvo. I already knew labor. You know, Mr. Z keeps up with his politics. I haven't been that well over the past couple of years. I'm getting back into it, right? So I already knew there was going to be disagreement, right? I thought it was going to be far more civil than this. Insanely more civil than this, right? But what we just watched with Dr. Jared Ball get jumped, right? For all of us that watched Dave Chappelle's show and the episode with Wayne Brady, was it Riverdale? Riverdale, right? So essentially, we just watched a drive-by, essentially, a 40-minute long drive-by, right? And a compassionate, you can unpause when you're ready. And once again, thank you for the super chat. The black toxic masculineness. Get it out, Z.
Historian Dr. Malvo is the economist. Do you have any? Do you believe there's any truth in her statement that there is black buying power? Or do you say that is a complete false statement?
It's misunderstood. As I said, the myth is that buying power speaks to an economic strength that can be marshaled to achieve some sort of political power or to change the relationship black people have to the country and the economy.
Well, would you buy her explanation when she says black buying power is not black wealth? And I would think she would agree that we should not use the term black buying power to suggest that black folks are in any way on par, have equity. If we made better choices, could work our ways out of this disparity between black and white, the black-white wealth gap.
I'm saying, if I understood your last point there, I'm saying that is incorrect, and that's part of what the mythology is there to create. It's there to produce this idea that poor people are poor because of their own, again, financial illiteracy or spending habits, etc. That's part of what I'm saying is the mythology. Buying power as a concept is strictly a marketing and advertising concept meant to connect. So it originates from the Selig Center in Georgia. And they say in their own data that their goal as an operation is to unite corporations with ad buyers. That's their goal, to expand the business community in Georgia. They produce these buying power reports that target black and other communities in the country for what they are estimated, as in their own reports say, and projected to spend on certain products. This is to help ad buyers buy certain ads in certain locations to target consumers. What it's reported as in the black press and a little bit in this conversation today, and this is why Dr. Malvo's name was mentioned in my book, as it's mentioned as some sort of economic or political strength. That's where the mythology comes in, and buying power takes on an entirely different and meaningless definition in the way it's reported to black audiences. So if we're really interested in making real change, we should be targeting the wealth that's produced in this country that we all contribute to as we consume in a 70% consumer-based society. So instead of telling black people you're poor because you spend ignorantly, we should be telling black people don't necessarily change your spending habits. We should have a political system that rewards you for the wealth you create through spending. Because if you don't spend, there is no wealth that is generated and there is no wealth to redistribute.
I'm just trying to
pause right there. So, I mean, there you go. Right? Exactly. Right. So this it's what I said earlier. We're speaking about black buying power, and we're making it because we're saying the term black buying power. I hope we're saying the term black buying power, but we're framing it. Right. That's the entire society, namely black people, namely our black elders that like to wave their fingers at us. Right. We're framing it like black buying power is black wealth. Right. We're framing it like black buying power is black wealth, and then that's black political power. Right. So, I mean, Dr. Jared Ball just said it. Who wants to argue with that? Who wants to argue with that? Boomers, Xers and millennials, we got to hit hard too, but some certain young boomers got hit hard with this too. But Xers and millennials, I don't know how much you Gen Z are getting hit with this. Oh my, for Xers and millennials, we already know it was always you spending your money the wrong way, the Jordans and Weave. Well, we got hit upside the head with the goddamn Jordans and Weave conversation so much. We haven't got nothing because we spend our money in them big rims and Jordans, Weave and stuff. Yeah. Right? Consumerism. Meanwhile, and if Dr. Jared Ball is to be believed, 70%, everybody, that means Americans are blowing money 70%. Right? Did we forget that the whole economy turned into one big spend money thing? What's the savings rate for your average American? Right? Thank you, Charles Rims. That we're all spending the way we were hit, especially as Xers and millennials, where we are spending our money on big rims, big expensive cars for no reason. When I say Jordans, just read all apparel. Right, I'm just using that as a catch-all, particularly for Black men, for all apparel, right? And for women, the weave, that's all nails, makeup, weave. And by the way, they are spending their money on, but we gotta leave that alone for this conversation. And that's how we were hit upside the head. Oh, we were hit upside the head with that endlessly, right? But in reality, this now because I always have to make this disclaimer, always. Is Mr. Z saying that your son or your nephew should be spending their money, right, on frivolous things? No. Should he save that money as much as he can? Yes. What Mr. Z is saying is that is not why Black people are poor. I always have to put the caveat out there, because someone is going to purposely be obtuse or purposely not understand what Z is saying. Someone is going to do it, right? So I always have, right? Thank you, Joe, right? Four on the steering wheels, right? And it was this beating up. I had this conversation with my own father, y'all. Yes, Z had to check Z Senior. Heavy accident and all. Z, you spending this money, and he tried to bring up the white kids, and right? No, Dad. What you think? Wait, but the iPhone is different because I brought up, what the white kids be, because my dad mentioned that brothers are standing in line for tennis shoes, and I was like, yeah, Dad, the white kids are standing out in line for the cell phone. Yeah, but the cell phone, the technology. I said, no. I work with them. They're standing in line for the same reason the brothers are standing in line for the tennis shoes that first day, for the bragging rights. So you can say technology all you want, and yeah, they're going to keep it for however long. The brothers are going to keep their shoes for however long too, or they're going to sell it and make even more money. By the way, that's a thing. He didn't know that was a thing, by the way. Right? They're going to put it on eBay or whatever and sell it for even more. But shout out, because my dad is a Black man, so he conceded the point and actually apologized when I was like, no, I work with these guys. I work with the tech guys, right? I'm pretty chill with the IT department. This is when Mr. Z was white collar. No, they get the iPhone for the same reason that the brothers stand in line for the Jordans, for the bragging rights. Right? So yeah, no, it is. Look, for all my boomers, yeah, especially your young boomers, right? For all my Xers, right? Pretty much BGS on down, but definitely Black Uru on down. We got hit upside the head with this crap so much, right? And once again, I'm not saying that we couldn't save more, but there's even information that's out that Black people got better savings rate than white folks. So even that, I don't know how much that's true, right? And so let me read this real quick. And Mr. Paul Wilson says, and thank you for the super chat, I made the mistake of purchasing an autographed copy of her book at a book signing. She thought I was the brother she had argued with on air. Wow. She thought you were Dr. Jared Ball? How did that turn out? Did she give you the mean look? Did she mean mug you? Did she curse you out? Right? Did you hear all type of weird sounds? Right? Because the way she coming at Dr. Jared Ball here is like she wants to really actually put hands on him, right? So Compassion, when you get a chance, you could unpause, and I'm going to try to read some of you guys' comments and stuff while Compassion is playing this. Go ahead.
It's a clear understanding, obviously, to noted professors, academics can disagree about topics, and this may be just one of those topics that we don't reach agreement on. But you wanted to finish your point, Dr. Ball. We had to go to break. That's the rules around here, but go ahead, finish your point.
No, I think what I was just trying to say, and thank you for that, was simply that what we should be targeting, instead of the mythological 1.8 trillion that we're said to have and misuse to lead to our continued poverty, the 150 trillion in private wealth that's produced in this country every year, or the 450 trillion in private wealth that's produced around the world, or the fact that, as economist Richard Wolff just said recently, only 3% of the population in this country are employers, leaving 97% of the rest of us to be employees. Those are the relationships that we should be looking more closely at and critically at, and move away from the mythologies about our economic condition that are based on not on actual economic data and analysis, but based on marketing and advertising claims and products. That's what the small hope of my work is meant to do.
But it seems like, Dr. Malvo, these two things.
You can pause right there. You can pause right there.
You and I in particular.
So notice something. I don't want us to miss that. If I hear Dr. Jared Ball correctly, the private wealth in the U.S. is somewhat 150 trillion, and it's about 450 around the planet. So in other words, the U.S. makes up like a third. Remember, the U.S. is like 4 or 5% of the world's population, and yet the U.S. that includes all of us. Yes, black people, you too. We make up something like, we is loose. That's a loose term right there. Something like a third of the world's private wealth. Right? Oh man. Thank you, Dr. T. He's correct, but they're patronizing him. Exactly. Right? About a third of the entire China alone is damn near 20% of the world's population. India surpassed China in world population now, right? So that's maybe another 20, maybe, right? And the US by itself, like 4 or 5% of the world's population, is about a third of the world's wealth, private wealth at least, right? So Dr. Jeremiah just see, this is why you watch things like this. For the gems, there's just the random gems that just be falling out. Random pieces of information, be like, wait a minute, a third of the world's private wealth? Right? Yeah, exactly. About 350 million of 8 billion people, right? Man, okay, go ahead. I'm compassionate.
Particular would agree that we need to focus on the wealth that's created by the top 1% of this country. We need to focus on how we close the wealth gap. We need to focus on the way that Black folks are dehumanized around money, how we spend money. I think Dr. Ball, we're in complete agreement with you on that. I think perhaps the disagreement is coming from the notion that set of principles is incongruent with the notion that Black people do have money to spend, that somehow is a myth that's just been created by these sales folks. Is that your understanding?
Well, it's again.
Let me
I thought you were talking
for a little while. So let me talk, if you don't mind, Reva.
I'm trying to understand this.
Okay, so there are two principles here. One is the issue of the wealth gap and the concentration of wealth in this community. I don't disagree with Dr. Ball about that. We can look at the wealth gap. We can look at the way that Black people have been marginalized around wealth. And as you know, with my work around reparations, we can look at the ways that we have had limited access to the ways that wealth is created. And in fact, the conspiracies to keep us from wealth. So there's no disagreement there. Here's what my disagreement is. First of all, don't be throwing my name in your book, dude. Just don't do it. That's number one. Number two.
Pause right there. Dr. Jerry Ball, I told y'all, huh? I told y'all. What happened? She couldn't look. This is my elder, y'all. I know what Jason Black told us about the word elder. I know, right? So how's Mr. Z framing this? Clearly, for all of us that are watching, even some of you ladies who are ghost watching, Dr. Julian Malvo can barely contain herself with her contempt and the way she felt slighted by Dr. Jared Ball merely mentioning her in his book, right? Merely mentioning her. Huh. And as you can, she's like randomly just blurting out, damn near Tourette's. Just keep my name out your book. This is really just keep my name out your mouth. This is really just keep my name out your mouth. This is borderline some street stuff. PhD academic, everyone. The Gynocracy, there is no escape hatch unless you address it outright. Unless you got it. Oh, okay. unless you address the gynocracy for real, there is no playing nice. There is. Dr. Gerald Ball breaks it down, and if he is to be believed, he didn't even know that she was going to be part of the conversation up until the morning before, the literal morning before the damn interview, if he's to be believed, right? Wow. So you bring Dr. Julian Malvo on, okay, there's going to be a disagreement, fine. We've seen people even, raise their voice on others. We've seen it on cable news, if that's what you want to call news, right? But this tone, it's only two of you. This tone, 40 minutes, by the way. This is not a little 5-minute CNN, segment where you got to hurry up and get your points in and go. This is like 40 minutes. But this lets you know where we are in the Black community. We're a seasoned, right, well-known. Dr. Julian Malvo is well-known. If y'all don't know, if y'all don't know, I'm surprised y'all don't know, but she's well-known. Been in the game for a while. Arguably, I would argue, if you're in a CNN watcher, you're more likely to know Dr. Julian Malvo than Susan Malvo. And I said this earlier, Susan Malvo, yes, that is Julian Malvo's cousin. Yes, the Susan Malvo from CNN. Yes, that one. Right? And the watcher, and yes, Dr. Julian Malvo, this is how she sounds all the time. Right? All the time. Right? Man. So I just want to make sure that Dr. Jared, remember, y'all be mocking us when we say Gynocracy over here. Dr. Jared Ball, y'all mock us. Y'all make fun of us. You and Diallo especially. Y'all mock us. Right? You have 2 girls. Diallo Kenyatta has 2 boys. Y'all mock us. And here you are, face to face with the Gynocracy, getting lumped up in front of everyone. Huh? And Compassionate says, get the likes up before Z calls Mama Malvo on you boys. Right? But really, this is like straight. This is like everything that we've been told by our scholars that happen behind the scenes. This is exactly what our scholars, right? I don't want to say their names right now. Some of them might be here right now, right? This is what they tell us happened behind the scenes. We're watching it on camera, in your face. Now what? LAR said you got to bob and weave. Right? In everybody's face. So for all of us that thought that this type of gynocratic checking stops at a certain income level or education level, right? A certain pedigree, a certain prestige level, clearly not. Clearly not, right? Y'all are watching it. We don't all seen it. There you go. Now what? And Black Guru says, I told you the attorney host set him up. Apparently, right? So, Compassion, you can unpause. Go ahead.
Black
and Oliver, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you for the super sticker.
Influential. And that's what D. Park Gibson back in the day was attempting to show, is that if whatever cola is making money off Black people, then whatever cola should invest in Black people. That we are a consumer block as well as a marginalized community. The back in, I think, 69, the $30 billion Negro was about how much money we spend. And I don't think that we should marginalize that. I think we should talk about the ways that, as an example, if we chose to boycott some organization or corporation, it would basically show the power of our consumer dollars. And I think it's really important. So there's 2 different concepts. Yes, we have to deal with closing the wealth gap, but also if we spend money with the oppressor, we must get the oppressor to invest in our communities. And if they choose not to, we have tools at our disposal. We can say, we're going to boycott this, you know what? We can, and one of my disappointments with our civil rights organizations has been that they hesitate to call for boycotts to make a point. When a FedEx driver is beaten in Mississippi because he is trying to deliver a package, do his job. Should we not say, okay, maybe we're going to use UPS for a minute? So the power of the Black consumer block, I think, and I won't speak for Dr. Ball because obviously we're not on the same page, but the power of the Black consumer dollar should be so we leverage certain things. So we're talking about two different things. And I don't like the word myth. So that's my trigger there. It's not, we do have consumer power. And it's for someone, a so-called learned, whatever he is, to dismiss our consumer power, I think is insulting to Black people.
What do you say to that, Dr. Ball? Do you disagree? Let's
pause right there, compassionate
example. That if
whatever he is, this so-called learned. Yep, y'all seen it. Y'all see, so she don't like myth, or so. Shout out to BGS. Shout out to me. We called it right, but it's not fair because I watched this already. But yeah, right? Yeah, she don't like the term myth, right? How you gonna call what I advocate for a myth, right? Oh boy. While also saying, well, he's right about this, and he's right about that, and I'm not gonna disagree with this. Oh boy. Right? And Electrician 480, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. He said, salute, Z. Salute, salute. Yeah. Which I thought you could get away from the Gynocracy with an education? How many years of schooling did Dr. Jared Ball go through to get sunned this way in front of everyone? Right? In front of everyone. Huh? Oh man, look, I'm covering this to just show us and to prepare a special, because we have brothers that y'all trajectory is looking nice, right? I want us to understand what our scholars in this space have said to us is real. They're not making it up. These are not bitter men. These are not men that are exaggerating their experiences. They're not lying to you. They're not trying to make Black women out to be the boogeyman, right? No. On camera, everyone. On camera for the world to see, right? And Elkston says the host is somewhat hostile. Not somewhat, right? She's not all the way up there with Dr. Julia Malvo. I'll give you that, but this ain't somewhat, right? And go ahead, Compassion. Go ahead and you can pause it.
Well, an African-American FedEx worker is brutally beaten and calls for justice, calls for a response from the company, and they don't give a response. Do you think it's appropriate for African-Americans to say, we are going to boycott, we are going to stop spending money with FedEx? We're just using this as a hypothetical. Would you agree with that? Sure.
The question is, to what extent would that be effective? And so part of what we've seen, certainly post the killing of George Floyd, is the attempt of corporations to spend $50+ billion to buy off, in essence, the Black community through supporting, as they point out in their own documents, financial literacy programs, and to encourage Black entrepreneurialism as a response to the violence and hostility Black people suffer. And again, that's been part of the historical cycle of the mythology that I'm talking about here. So instead of, for instance, Dr. Malvo, just out of curiosity, instead of the vitriol you're espousing towards me, have you actually read my book? And then
Dr. Jared Ball jabbing back.
Yours, not mine. And that's your interpretation.
Well, you just keep. I just want to ask a question though.
No, you don't get to ask questions. It's my show. I ask the questions. Yeah, I do have a question for you. Do you believe? I'm not playing. Both of you, come on, you're adults. Come on, we're trying to educate people about this really important topic, and I don't want us to,
She says he's the one that's being vitriolic. Wow.
Ball, that there is buying power in the Black community.
Not in the conventional, not in the way most of us understand it to mean. So, for instance, again, that's why I keep saying buying power is a marketing and advertising mechanism.
So how would you describe the money we earn and the money we spend?
It is very little, and it is used at most as a measurement as it's the way we're paid and what we spend is equivalent to what the origins of these reports were meant to study and manage. That is, how much can you pay working people so that they can buy the products that they're helping to produce, but not earn enough to be quote unquote.
Dr. Ball, you're packing that answer. I'm just going to, again, the listeners and viewers, when people spend money, they equate that with buying power, whether you're Black, white, red, or green.
And that's what I'm saying is incorrect. That's what my work is trying to get them to.
When you spend money, can you just give us your definition without packing the policy in it? When we spend money at the store, what are we demonstrating?
We're demonstrating our ability to enrich those who own the products we're buying.
Okay, so that's it for you. That's all we're doing.
Yes,
And Dr. Malvo, you would say that is powerful. Our ability to enrich those people.
And Brother Man has a temerity, first of all, to describe me incorrectly. So you're wrong. But secondly, the $50 billion that people said they pledged post George Floyd was not $50 billion. It was money that enriched them. I think that Black-led organizations maybe got 5 of that 50 billion. But thirdly, and most importantly, we can make a difference when manufacturers do things to hurt us. We can withdraw our dollars. Look at the 1968 play, Days of Absence. We are a significant force. No, we're not all that, but we are a significant force. And I think that Dr. Ball, and I'm trying to be respectful, although he has not been, because I have not described him vitriolic or ignorant. Dr. Ball has essentially diminished the importance of Black buying power, which can influence some policy decisions. Not all. We know that the wealth gap is what it was in 1930 for deliberate policy reasons. But we can make a difference, and I refuse to allow Black people to think that we can't. When we purchase anything, when Black women decided to, as an example, Reva, you and I remember this, boycott St. John for a minute. Remember they start running to our sororities and talking about, we're with you. Maybe that's a surface example, but the issue is that our buying power does make a difference. It doesn't necessarily close the wealth gap, but in some cases it can narrow it.
Okay, first I'm gonna ask both of you to be respectful to each other. You both are brilliant. You both have made excellent points. This is a complicated topic, obviously, and you don't agree on it. I'm just trying to make sure that viewers and listeners have an understanding. So when we
while rigging the game,
is there such a thing as Black buying power, and what does it mean? Or is it, as Dr. Ball said, one giant myth? Stay with us, KPLA Talk when we come forward.
Yeah, y'all heard this. Y'all heard all of this, right? Yeah, what happened, Capacity? You paused it, or let's see what's next. Yeah, go ahead.
Power being a myth. Where do we go from here? What would you like to see happen in terms of the way we think about the wealth in this country that Black folks have, or the lack thereof, the spending that Black folks are engaged in on a daily basis? Help us understand what you see as the pathway forward.
So we don't have wealth, and we have very little, and it's headed by all accounts to zero by 2050, I believe reports say. So what we should be targeting instead of the mythologies that are promoted to us around our economic condition or what we can do about it is public policy that seeks to redistribute the wealth we do help create through our consumption. So instead of some of what has gone on here, what we should be doing is better understanding the economy. In a 70% consumer-based economy, the country doesn't generate wealth for those who end up with all of it if we don't spend our money. So we should, instead of, again, telling people to spend more responsibly or to blame poor people for being poor, we should encourage the wealth that we generate through our consumption be redistributed, not through the goodwill of a corporation, but through the public policy demanded in at least a nominal democracy. So elected leadership should be producing policy that says, listen, so if we're referencing, our generational stuff, I keep saying I'm very Frank White with money, as going back to the King of New York movie, where if to make it more appropriate for our audience here, if money is being made in this economy, our labor, our Black labor, should be rewarded through a redistribution of the wealth that creates.
What would that look like?
It would look like it would look like, instead of us creating Bezos level billionaires, it would look like free healthcare. It would look like free good schools. It would look like homes being improved. It would look like, instead of $150 trillion ending up in the private accounts of personal owners of the economy, that money would be redistributed, because if as been said, 20 billion takes care of all of the houseless problems in this country, we more than generate enough from that when we buy our lattes and click on our websites. So if healthcare needs are not being fully covered, as is obviously the case, that money should be developed, and that money exists. It exists.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything you're saying, Dr. Ball, but there's a tone, I guess, and maybe that's why Dr.
And pause right there.
Somehow
and there's I don't disagree, but there's a tone, and there you go. Tone and delivery. I want y'all to understand, they're checking Black men. These sisters, these educated people, Dr. Susan Malvo and Miss Ava, tone and delivery. There's a tone there. What's the tone? The man came on the channel humble. His opening statement was pretty concise, pretty humble, straight to the point. Even Dr. Julia Malvo, in the beginning of her opening statement, pretty on point. And at the end of that opening statement, oh boy. Huh? Essentially, watch your mouth at the end of her opening statement. Right? And Dr. T says, tone policing is rarely about the stated point of argument. It's about power and dominance. Right? There's a tone there, she says. Right? Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. And Afro National says, if something is stolen, it must be returned. Anything else is us going in circles. Right? This argument is going in circles because clearly Dr. Julia Malvo felt slighted that her name was mentioned and there was a disagreement and it was public. Dr. Jared Ball made his disagreement with Dr. Julia Malvo and a whole host of other scholars and quote unquote black leaders and just black talking heads. He made it, he said it in the book, but there was no disrespect there. Right? There was no disrespect there. Ah, Z, you got it wrong. The disrespect was the disagreement in public. How dare you? And Eliar says, the tone is you didn't kiss the ring. True. Right? True. The disagreement is that you said my name. You said my name in disagreement. Right? So, to hell with Dr. Jared Ball's doctorate. To hell with his education. To hell for what he went to school for. Dr. Jared Ball speaks about media literacy, and as BJ said, he's not in his lane necessarily, but he is holding those people in that lane accountable. He's saying, oh, by the way, to all you black economists, are y'all sure about that? Right? And he speaks about for those of you who weren't here earlier, he mentions Derek Hamilton and how Derek Hamilton wrote the foreword to his book, and the response to him from Dr. Julia Malvo was, Dr. Hamilton is a mentee of mine. Check and checkmate, so she thought. Right? Wow. So this is in front of everyone, right? This is in front of everyone. Wow. And Trail says, I work in IT. I must remain open to change and new ideas that pop up every day. But clearly, Dr. Julia Malvo, she really had an issue with Dr. Jared Ball. And that's why I had, and at the end of this, if compassionate will, I'll play it one more again, the passage. So y'all can see for yourselves, for those of you that got here a little bit later, that Dr. Jared Ball didn't actually say anything disparaging, disrespectful, belittling, or any of that. Especially nothing that would warrant this type of response. But does that matter? You are a scholar out of your lane. Apparently, the way Dr. Julia Malvo seems like she took it, disparaging a scholar in her lane. That's a black woman, and that's your senior. This is a fence on top of a fence on top of a fence. Off with his head. Right? And Black Rule says, so Dr. Julia Malvo is saying, basically, Dr. Jared Ball isn't her son, he is her grandson, her grandson's friend. Right? Her grandson's friend. Right? Because if he mentions Derek Hamilton and then she turns around and says, he's my mentee, then that's saying, oh, so you tried to name drop. She said name drop, by the way. She's the one who said name drop. Oh, you trying to name drop him? Yeah, I'm the one who taught him. Oh. Right? Oh boy. So go ahead and unpause compassionate.
as Black
Thank
folks
you.
are in disagreement with you that there should be mechanisms in this country to redistribute wealth so that Black folks are benefiting from the wealth created in this economy in the same way that white folks and other folks do. So when we are fighting for,
that's what we've heard it. We've heard
Black elected officials, we've heard Black leaders, we've heard Black lawyers, we've heard civil rights leaders talk about free healthcare, talk about access to home ownership. Yes, we have.
That's why we have what we call Obamacare, which is a right-wing Republican platform program. We don't have universal health care.
Obama literally Mitt Romney designed.
But that's what I'm saying.
But what I said, let me finish. What I said was your tone suggests that they're not Black leaders out
tone and delivery
for policies that would provide free health care.
If I could just step back.
I'm going to let Dr. Malvo step in for a minute because she's been silent. She's been quiet. Go ahead,
Dr. I have been quiet. I've allowed this man to be disrespectful and rude. And we're not.
Don't make it personal, Dr. Malvo. Let's
no, it's not personal. It's not personal. Here's none of this is personal. We're talking about the economic condition of Black people. And the economic condition of Black people is predicated on a number of things. Obviously, we live in a predatory capitalist society that exploits us regularly in any number of ways. I don't disagree with Dr. Ball about that at all. What I disagree with are a number of things around how he chooses to deal with Black people and our choices. We live in a predatory capitalist society, okay? So now, what can we do? We can't affect public policy with our spending. It's not the best way to affect it, but we can affect it. We can call out those corporations that are most exploitive. And more importantly, what we've seen with many administrations is that we can change things. As an example, the $35 cap on insulin prices is a boon to Black communities that came from Joe Biden. I'm not in favor of everything Biden does, but let's say we know that there are a disproportionate number of Black people who are diabetic.
Democratic operative talk.
Economic boon, and we should not diminish that, nor should we ever diminish the power of Black consumers. So the word myth bothers me probably more than anything else because Black
BGS was right again.
Not a myth, it's a reality. How much difference does it make? Not as much as we like, but it does make a difference. So we really do have to honor our people. And I've written, oh gosh, I've been writing for 50 years. So I've written about, these fairs we have where, you go and it's about financial literacy and then you have all these people selling spit as you go in. That's not necessarily useful. But what is useful is for us to talk about Black people supporting Black people in consumer markets because we live in consumer markets. We are consumers. This is a consumer society, as Dr. Ball has said, so I'll give him a small point of agreement. Our economy basically—
Even in agreement, she's disrespectful.
So the question is how 70% of it is of our GDP is consumption. So the question is, how do we harness our consumption to make it useful to our community? So I think that words like myth and the very disparaging attitude toward Black consumers is not useful. I think what's useful is for us to talk about what we want to see and how we can get the results in our economy that we can get. We can't withdraw our labor as the day of absence suggested. We cannot withdraw our labor because we have to eat, we have to live. But there are things that we can do, and we can withdraw our dollars from certain platforms. And I think that that's very effective. In addition to we're running out of time here. Dr. Ball is the author of this book, The Myth and Propaganda of Black Buying Power, Media, Race, Economics. I'll give you the last word, Dr. Ball. You have a minute.
No, it's about to get good, yo.
It's so wildly disrespected and misrepresented. It's unfortunate. So I encourage people to actually read the book. It is not a disrespect. It is an honorific to the Black consumer who is being misrepresented and often misled through false reporting and bad economic analysis in a lot of press that targets them. It is the myth. If Dr. Malvo or anyone would actually read the work, they would be less triggered by what I mean by the word myth. And what I'm saying is the myth of buying power. Buying power, as is popularly represented, is mythological. What we can do needs to be based on what is actually in our what we actually have access to, and we're being which we're not accessing when these mythologies are misrepresented, when the economic condition is misrepresented and the phrase buying power is misrepresented to demean Black consumers, to suggest that they are poor because of their financial illiteracy. That is factually incorrect. So what I would encourage Dr. Malvo to actually read the work, to act as a scholar and a doctor and an elder and read the work and then produce a critique based on what you've actually read.
We're out of time. This discussion, we all have something to contribute to this conversation. I'm an economics major from the University of Chicago. Dr. Malvo is an MIT trained economist, so she is more than qualified to have this conversation about economics. But thanks to both of you for joining me in this hour. Really interesting, dynamic conversation. Pick up Dr. Ball's book, learn more about the work that he's doing at Morgan State University. We appreciate his voice as we appreciate the voice of Dr. Julianne Malvo.
Compassionate, bring it back to 8:40 for me one more time. Please, thank you.
of a flawed understanding of where this myth was coming from. And that's all I was saying. So it wasn't.
Hold on, let me read what you said that calls out her name. It says, what magnifies the impact of buying power claims is that they are largely promoted by and even the product of a Black commercial press who would transform the original concept into one designed to specifically target Black audiences, beginning with John H. Johnson and carried throughout Black commercial media to today via the National Newspaper Association, Target Market News, through popular journalists, academics, and media personalities, such as the owner of this station, Tavis Smiley, Tom Joyner, and Dr. Julianne Malvo, and also traditional civil rights organizations, including the Urban League and the NAACP. The myth has been propagated for two primary reasons. And then you talk about the reasons. The first, less known and garnering far less attention in the overall conversation, is that buying power is used as a means to attract advertising revenue by convincing white corporations of the potential in the Black consumer. The second reason for so heavily propagating the myth, far more popular and far more mythological, is as a means of collective uplift of empowerment. So go ahead.
No, so as I was attempting to say, so again, as you just read there, this was not a hostile call out. It was I was citing examples of popular pundits, academics, activists.
It don't matter. You talked about
who have helped spread the mythology. And then in the context, of course, of explaining the history of the myth, its origins, and why it does not fit. May I finish this one point? Because it's very important if I could. Because I was doing it in context of comparing the mythological claims surrounding buying power with the actual economic data and reporting that is being produced by economists about the condition of Black people in the United States. So the second edition of the book has a forward from Dr. Derek Hamilton, who is one of the leading economists in the country on dealing with these and related issues, who supports the work and its general argument. I cite a lot of economic data. So Dr. Malvo pointed out, made reference to Mr. Gibson and a book from last 75 years or more ago, written by someone in advertising and marketing, which is exactly my point, not dealing with the actual economic conditions of the time. So at the time Gibson was writing that book in, I believe, around the 30s.
Okay, you can pause, Compassionate. You can pause. Thank you so much, Compassionate, for this. Thank you, because this just made this so much easier for me. And y'all shout out Compassionate on the ones and twos in the background. Wow. Thank y'all all for being here. As I said before, even though we are literally not talking about we're not talking about relationships, we're not talking about intimacy, we're nowhere near black man, black women, be in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant talk, whatever they paint us with, whatever negative stereotypes the Black community paints the Black manosphere with, right, or Black men writ large with. We're nowhere near that. These are two scholars, two educators, right? Two activists, quite frankly. Now, I'm not saying that Dr. Jared Ball got anything on Dr. Julian Malvo, right? Going to fisticuffs, but it's really not Dr. Jared Ball swinging. I mean, he did give her that little two-piece right at the end. But understand the words that were being used here, right? Vitriolic. To think that Dr. Julian Malvo responded to, or reacted to, better yet, Dr. Jared Ball the way she did, and then say he's the one being vitriolic, right? Homeboy, all these type of terms, and right, dude, all of this, straight disrespectful. And then said that he's being disrespectful. And she checks him as saying, I'm your elder, right? Keep my name out your book. Wow. This is what I'm saying. And KP says he got jumped by the sisterhood on camera in front of everyone. On camera in front of everyone. Wow. So I wanted to cover this so y'all can see it for yourselves that our scholars are not lying. They're not exaggerating. As a matter of fact, their explanation might be way softer than what's actually going on, right? But they're not exaggerating because y'all just saw it in your face, right? In your face, on camera, right? train tracks. But yeah, so I wanted to cover this for that. I have about 45 minutes ish. So I'm gonna drop the link. I'm gonna let a few of you up. So yeah, so if anybody wants to say anything, right? Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. Really share, right? That part, because YouTube be messing with the numbers, so they don't really want to give Mr. Z his due, and my subscription numbers is looking kind of right. Y'all give Z 1 second. Y'all talk amongst yourselves. Right. Okay, actually, y'all go ahead. I just dropped the link, and yeah. So yeah, if anyone wants to come up and give their commentary, definitely the PhDs are welcome. Academics, all you college educated brothers, if y'all want to give y'all horror stories about your female professors, especially the black ones. But yeah, wow. So I saw this. I thought it was going to be a way more serious back and forth about. Essentially, I thought it was going to become a more socialist view of black economics versus a more capitalist view of black economics. I'm prepared for that. We've all heard it. The Booker T. Washingtons versus the Du Bois. We already know, right? So that's what I'm expecting, right? Like just another version of that for the 1,000th time in Black American history. And clearly not, right? Clearly not. And this went personal. So yeah, y'all witnessed it. And if this is what's happening on camera, what's happening off camera, right? What's happening off camera? This was crazy, right? So what's going on, Black Uru?
Hey, how you do, Z?
What's going on?
Clear.
Clear.
I mean, first of all, great find. Fantastic find. I mean, I really commend you. I don't know where you pulled that up from, but man,
I'm all over these YouTube streets, Black Uru. I'm all over these YouTube streets.
That is such a fantastic microcosm of the Black Gynocracy from the sort of aristocratic, educational aristocratic class. I mean, you could see that same scenario play out in innumerable ways, in issues regarding relationships, debates about marriage and baby mom. I mean, you could take any number of all of the issues and problems that occur between black men and black women, and they would play out exactly the same way that played out. Exactly the same way. So it was a rather remarkable demonstration of just how how universal the reach and the influence of the Gynocracy is. And I'm not going to hold up the gentleman, Paul.
No, this was good.
I could just go on. I can just
I have no problem with that.
Like I say, it's a delightful microcosm of what we often talk about.
I mean, when BGS tells us about his times in the pro-black spaces and the pulling him by his collar type thing, I mean, literally. Literally, I mean, like, what did y'all just witness?
Talking about a back shirt at the podium.
Right? Like,
hey, brother BGS.
Right? So like, what y'all just witnessed Dr. Jared Ball get stomped out. This was an intellectual dressing down and stomping out. Right? This is what this was.
And
go ahead.
Well, and let me
after this, Paul Wilson,
go out before Paul gets in, because don't let me lose this point. You guys have heard me repeatedly say the last mating decision you should ever make should ever include a black female attorney. So, but I'll expand on that point. Go ahead, Paul.
Go ahead, Paul. What's going on? Thank you for coming up. It's your first time up here, isn't it? I think so. But what's going on? Paul, if you're speaking, I cannot hear you. Maybe it's me. You might have to unmute yourself.
I think he's mute. You're
Yeah,
mute,
you might be
Paul.
mute. Click the mic button. Make sure that it doesn't have the slash to it, the red slash. Okay, yeah. Well, until you can speak, Paul. Go ahead, Black Guru. You were saying stay away from the black female attorneys.
Well, I mean, we saw an example, and I'm assuming Paul is not available. If you are, Paul, please jump in at any moment. I don't want to hold you up. You saw there an example of the manipulation, and you know, I've said this before. I mean, to attorneys, there are essentially two classes of human beings: those who are attorneys, and then everybody else. And you know what you saw in that example was, I mean, she obviously set him up. She set Ball up, and you kind of touched on it briefly when, you know, based on what was presented there, he didn't even know until relatively soon before that encounter that Dr. Malvo was going to appear. He might have prepared himself to deal with her in a different way. Perhaps he had heard that she was not pleased with what he had published, and might have been prepared to deal with her in a way that may have been a little more
real quick,
productive.
I might be breaking up in a minute, so y'all go ahead and speak around me. No, I was saying I might break up in a little minute, so y'all just go ahead with the conversation. Go ahead, Black Guru.
Okay. So, I mean, so the attorney kind of set that up to kind of make it contentious and put him at a disadvantage in their contention. And then this whole business where she was like trying to play, well, you know, you're saying the problem is his tone, while Dr. Malvo starts the conversation off saying, I'm an intellectual pugilist. I'm an intellectual fighter. This is what I do. And I've seen enough of Malvo to know that's true. She does like to scrap and get down a little bit. So to then to question his tone in the book he wrote, something that was written in the context of a lot of different things, and to just cherry pick one word. There's probably 80,000, 100,000 words in that book, right? To cherry pick one word and spend a half an hour or whatever arguing about the use of that word. Very, very typical. But again, I don't want to hold the other gentleman up on it. Like I say, don't trust black female attorneys.
Typical is an understatement. Black
Paul, if you want to speak now.
sorry.
Go ahead, Brian.
Paul, it's yours. I'll wait.
If you want to speak after that, you can, and then better you. Go ahead, Brian. Okay, Paul, we still can't hear you if you're trying to speak.
I think Paul's muted.
Okay, go ahead, Brian, and then we'll Mr. Snow. Yeah, I think he's still muted.
Typical is an understatement, because I watched part of this while I was doing my job training, and Z, you and the rest hit on it perfectly. This was an ambush, because think about if he knew about both about the quote unquote good doctor that was coming on, he actually had time to prepare. Well, let me say more time to prepare. If he had more time to prepare, it would have been an even bigger ass whooping than it was. But he held himself.
I don't know if he would have even. I don't think he would have. I think even if he had the time, I don't think he was prepared for this, even with the time, because you would have been prepared for a more intellectual argument, knowing that she you know, economics in labor, right? Labor economics. So I'm phrasing that wrong, but either way. So you would have been prepared for a standard capitalist fight, right? As a socialist.
Well, yes and no, because here's what we might not necessarily know. These people are of a certain class. They know each other. They know how each other get down, and they know each other's reputation and that. So he may have, had he known she was coming, he might have been prepared to fight with her in a way that might have given him greater advantage in that debate. But look, I've seen enough of Malvo myself. That doesn't entirely surprise me. She is a bit haughty.
Yeah, I've seen her enough too.
Arrogant.
Yeah.
You know, and she so that don't surprise me.
Well, this is my first time seeing. This is my first time seeing her, but I completely.
No, she's been around, bro, for decades. Decades.
Really?
Go ahead. Yes, decades.
Oh no, she's been
remember her
on
since
the
I was a
public
kid.
stage for
Yeah,
at least
yeah.
40 years. For at least 40 years.
This is why my head's been in the sports clouds more than anything else. But after seeing this, I totally understand why she's been around. And two, I understand what you guys have been saying, that he'd have been in a worse position had he had time to prepare. What got me and continues to get me is how many times he was interrupted just when he was about to nail a point down.
Of course. I mean, we already know the argument was rigged.
and that's the part you can think. That's why I particularly blame the host. And in particular, and that's why I mean, to me, that's typical Black female attorney shit. That's that kind of rhetorical witchcraft they engage in. That go ahead.
No, Black Guru and Mr. Snow. Did y'all both also notice that she kept on pretending like she was playing referee, but she clearly was very one-sided? Like, y'all stop arguing now, right? Like,
let me
typical.
put it this way.
No,
y'all know I love George Carlin, and I reference him a lot. He said something that is so true, and that outlines that video, Z, that you and the others broke down so expertly. And it also outlines the fight against the gynocracy for Black men. And it goes like this. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged.
Exactly. No. I recall him saying that. Yes.
Yep.
Right. Yes.
He said it in 2005. The table is tilted. How many times have I said, and the master teacher's here, so I better make this quick. How many times have I said, in many ways, that the table is tilted, and it's been tilted against Black men for the longest time?
Well, since I've been hearing you, actually, go ahead.
When has it not been tilted against Black men?
See,
I don't know.
BGS,
right before we got on the boat.
See, BGS comes in and decides to back me off. He decides to back me off the plate with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball going, I told you this was coming. BGS decides to back me off a plate, a power right-handed hitter, and what does he do? He buzzes me with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball.
Any ball traveling that fast needs to have a stewardess, right?
and if you don't see the vapor trail from that bitch, you ain't looking.
By the way, so BGS probably I know BGS knows Dr. Julian Malvo better than the rest of us. But right. So
I'm just
tell them this is typical. Tell them this is typical BGS because
in fact she went easy on her.
Oh, really? This is easy?
That's easy.
Bro, you don't know, bro. I'm telling you, bro.
Listen, I admit to being a rookie too. I fully admit to being a rookie to her action, man.
You haven't seen her going on white people, so yeah.
Yeah. And she knows the white lineage of her family too. By the way, like when I say know 'em, I don't mean like know 'em, but like they're not that far away. Yeah, she knows enough. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
In other words, I can understand it, but the thing is, they shouldn't have ambushed him. They could have. The host could have kind of let him know that she was coming. But the thing is,
she didn't want to.
Number one, that's not his field of expertise. Okay. Okay. Number two, Julian Malvo is a world-class economist. She's just not some nobody. Okay.
Right.
She's world renowned. Okay. She's a world-class economist for years.
Like I said, as soon as I show up, BGS says, I'm going to back him off the plate, knowing that this is not my expertise, and I already know this. So what does BGS do? He buzzes me right across the chin.
Right. By the way,
go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so that's some of the energy that y'all hear coming from her is, okay, you put my name in your book.
Yes.
Then you publicly disagree with me, and you're not even in the line of the line of field. And like it's just
On top of there's some things that you do not do in academia, and Dr. Johnson can tell you. Okay, if you're going to talk about somebody's work, there's something you don't do. Put in behind their name. It's called myth and propaganda. Okay, propaganda and myth means what is a lie. You're calling her a liar in public. Okay,
and he literally said the myth of black buying power. And
Power.
propaganda is written all over that book.
That's why,
all
that's
over.
why she read that that passage with her name in it, amongst other names, and put propaganda in it. You're calling that woman a liar, okay?
She
calling her a
went,
liar, and you don't and trust and believe. Even though she's world class, and basically she's known, she's a progressive, she's a world class economist. Julianne Malvo will pull up on you, especially for a black person. She'll pull up.
No,
on
she
you.
really will. She really will.
One quick note for BGS. When you were saying that, I just heard my wife crack up laughing in the room. So that's basic timing right there from your sister-in-law. Okay.
Okay. So basically, what you have is an old fact. We should know this because it happens in the Manosphere all the time. It's called a pull-up.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Pulled up on him.
Alexa, play Debo's theme song, please.
Oh shit!
So,
Come Debo.
So this is typical gynocracy. And then you know, basically she said, "I'm waiting on his ass." Okay. As soon as you
seriously though.
Let me borrow from the great BGS. That is called what class? An ambush.
Yes.
By the way, so this was from my understanding.
Really.
Yeah, this was on Tavis Smiley's station, if I'm not mistaken. I think.
Wow.
Right. So, and I think he also mentioned Tavis Smiley. So this really could have been a coordinated, like, oh, no, you know what? Yeah, go get him for all of us. Type joint. Right. So if I'm not, I might be wrong, but I'm almost certain I'm right. I'm almost certain. But y'all go ahead.
In other words, if you come at the king, you best not miss.
Best not miss.
Yeah. So yeah. So.
Oh, KP, you ain't got no sense using my team's phrase.
What did she say? Keep your name out. Keep my name out your mouth.
Out your mouth. Yep.
Yeah. No, she literally said it though.
Yeah, she did. I know her. Okay, no, you said you put her name in. Oh, okay.
Hey, right. You know what we just said? We just said that Dr. Jared Ball got green lighted, and we watch him get stomped out in front of all of us. Yeah. He got green lighted.
He did get green lighted.
When you ready, go ahead. I'm telling you, he got green lighted.
Basically, he got mommy. Bring your ass in a little bit.
Yeah, he got mommy big time.
Yeah.
What you said, Pep? What? Pep?
Yeah.
Wait. I got a sound for y'all, and I think I sent this to. I believe I sent this to you. To you, Z. There was no need to ask the question,
what in the all types of blue hell?
Because
God damn it.
Yeah.
You can't make this shit up.
That was Dr. Malvo when she first heard it. Like, what? All right.
Basically, I understand this is gynocracy. I understand the point. But motherfucker, you call for this ass whipping. You call for this ass whipping. That's when I heard that. Oh, you call for this ass whipping. Huh?
Well, look, if you are going to take on the giants, if you are going to take on Goliath, then you need to understand that you're taking on Goliath.
Yes.
And you know he started a fight with Goliath, and then almost pretended as though, well, damn, I didn't know. Trying to fight Goliath.
I didn't know.
I didn't know this was going to happen.
Because in my view, I think there are several parts of what is happening here. Because to me, one thing that is sorely missing is a true definition of the term buying power. Because I think it's often a misnomer. Like, for example, hold on. Let me explain why it could be a misnomer.
Okay.
Let's say that Black people have consumed 20% of electrical power. Let's just use that as an example.
Okay.
Does that mean then that Black people can leverage that into taking some power or some control over the electric grid? No.
Kind of.
No, not in the current infrastructure of the power structure in this country. Now, could it possibly be manipulated in some sort of fantasy scenario if some system failure or whatever occurred? Possibly.
I'll give
the current infrastructure, under the current infrastructure, that does not necessarily equate to its proportionate level in terms of actual control over the power grid.
I'll give you
That's
an
my
example.
point.
I'll give you an example by why that particular point is not true. Okay. It's called solar cells, right? Okay. If Black people in a concerted effort, say in a black, especially in a place like Arizona, Nevada, Southern California, right? Say a Black neighborhood with a concerted effort to actually get off the grid or reduce the grid by purchasing solar cells. Okay, they could actually really basically affect the power grid, affect the power company. In fact, it has been that case in Los Angeles, right, where they had increased rates. Is because people were actually going off the grid, or not going off the grid, but at reducing their leverage on the grid. So that you can actually do that. It is possible, especially in this day and time, depending on where you're at. I'm not saying Chicago's that necessarily that place, but Los Angeles, Florida, Los Angeles, Georgia, all those places could actually do that and redirect your dollars. That is absolutely true.
But by the way, Dr. Jared Ball, I also watched when he got slapped up by Dr. Greg Carr a couple of years ago. I watched that too. He actually fought back a little bit more than this, actually, to be honest with you. He got a couple of licks in, but Dr. Greg Carr kind of lumped him up pretty a few years ago. So yeah. Dr. Jared Ball, he does that all the time.
And the thing is, but I say good for him because they try to do this shit to us. Okay, good for him.
Yeah, so that's what I kept on bringing up. Like, bro,
you definitely
this was straight Gynocracy. You got your cloak cleaned in front of all of us.
Yeah, when Julian Malvo, I said you called out the wrong person. Okay. You called out the wrong person.
Yep.
You still said, and I'm surprised she didn't call him little man. Okay.
I mean, she called him dude. She said I'm your
Just
elder.
about.
She said I'm your elder.
No, she said whatever he is.
Yeah, she did.
That got
PhD also.
Yeah, and she said whatever he is.
I mean, what is this? What is
saying? Look, when a Black woman said whatever she is, she said like you like some nigga on the streets. That's what she's saying.
One thing is called degree hierarchy. He's in what, Africana studies?
Yeah.
And you're going up against professor economists, really?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like
by the way, going in their lane, BGS, and then telling them they got it wrong, possibly.
Going in their lane and call them a liar is different, right? The thing is, what y'all don't understand, saying because Uru is a professional in his field, and if he had a economic theory, okay, and I'm a layman, I call him and say, you know what, Uru spreads myth and propaganda about what he's talking about. He take offense to that, okay?
Yeah,
let's call him a liar.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, tell me if
although I'm not an economist, I'm a CPA, so I tend to be a little more deferential to economics.
That's exactly BGS's point.
I'd be dogmatically assertive towards anything relating to the field of accountancy. So you're not going to fuck with me.
So if you're going to call a world-class economist and say she's spreading propaganda, you calling for that ass whipping, boss? You better come in with your fist balled up. Okay?
Yeah,
but
that's what. But the fact that this is where the other woman.
Nice.
But I'm just saying the attorney set him up for failure because he didn't know she was coming.
He didn't know the game was rigged like that.
Look,
he didn't know.
I ain't gonna tell this nigga she coming until the last possible moment where it would appear to be appropriate for me to tell you she's coming.
Well, you should be ready because you put her name in your book. Okay, you should be ready. Okay.
Let me let Better You go, y'all. But no, you're right, BGS. Better You go ahead and then AL.
Yeah, I'm not the reaction and the dynamic that played out. I'm not too terribly surprised by. I got that when I was going for my master's degree. It was the first Black professor I had in my entire collegiate career was a Black woman. And I remember I was so excited. I was like, okay, you know, I finally actually get to learn from a black person. And when I speak up in discussions, maybe everybody won't look at me like, what the fuck is this nigga talking about? And it was the worst experience I ever had in my collegiate career. I would have finished with a 4.0 if it wasn't for her, and finished with a 3.9. But she spoke down to me and talked to me as if I had absolutely no clue about anything. Was like I was intellectually inept. And I remember when I had to send in my milestone paper because of her thing was if I came to her and I asked her for help, regardless of what I turned in, she gave me an A. Things that like I feel like, okay, I got a good grasp of the concept and everything. I write it out, tons of sources. She shred that shit. So I'm like, I see the game we playing. All right. So I'll go to her before the final and everything. I'm like, I know it's mathematically, technically possible for me to still get an A, but I want to make sure I'm finishing as best I can. Like, is there anything that I should include in the summation of my milestones other than the notes and things from the previous assignments that, you know, it encompasses? And she said, the feedback I gave is exactly what I need to see. Like, if you incorporate those things, you should do fairly well on your paper. I said, okay, thank you. I rewrite the entire sections that she shredded up. I turn in my opinion, I turned in an amazing paper.
Little did you know.
She in the assignment notes, and I wish I could still access these things because they went away. So after like a little bit of time, but basically in the assignment notes, she said, I was so excited to read your paper. And then as I got to page 1, I realized that perhaps, how'd she phrase it? She said, I realized perhaps my expectations were not in calibration with your actual intellectual capabilities.
Damn.
God damn. So did she ever hit on you? Hold on. Did she ever hit on you?
No, this was I got my master's online. So she basically wrote this whole. Oh, go ahead.
So evidently you didn't kiss her ass. Evidently you didn't offer no dick.
Something happened, cuz that's a something happened.
For those of you that don't understand, that's scathing. That is scathing.
That's beyond. I mean, that's clipping your nuts, man.
Yeah,
that's clipping your nuts.
To both your points, though, I picked up, like I said earlier, I picked up when it was the simplest of assignments. She was like, "Hey, you need to reach out to me to make sure you understand this, that, and the third." I'm like, "This is the most straightforward assignment ever."
BGS is saying you missed the clue. He said you missing the clue, Playboy. You missed the clue. You're supposed to go over there and handle some business.
Yeah, you're supposed to catch a flight, cuz. Y'all was supposed to make an arrangement. Y'all was supposed to make an arrangement.
Hey, bro, the casting couch ain't just for women, player.
So you left out that important. You should have started with that detail,
Been there.
It was an online course. So, like all the questions BGS was alluding to, I mean, this was not a one-on-one, face-to-face type interaction. I do not believe. I believe this was, like he said, an online assignment he had to complete. He got the presentation. It's very straightforward. Let me go and handle my business. But like BGS said, you missed some kind of clue somewhere.
You missed that clue. Yeah, you should reach.
Look, hey, L, let me tell you.
Reach out to me, okay?
That's hey, L, let me tell you something. Let me tell you something about college. To these professors, somebody got to fuck. I got a class of X number of people. Somebody got to fuck.
And
somebody got to fuck us up.
And you may be the only black male in my class.
That's been my observation. I got to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend in this particular semester.
God,
like straight up. That's what I've seen. And I've seen that happen a lot. And I'm not accusing all academics of doing it, but that's definitely what I've seen. And they're going to have somebody going to work. Somebody going to do some extra credit assignment for that.
You know, for black men, you know, for the BBC, the casting couch exists for us. If you want to progress, you have to
come on.
somebody.
Alexa, play Adina Howard, please.
So either
white women and black men.
Be the buck.
Yes.
Either you be the buck or you arrange one of your homies to be the buck, but somebody gonna
get some dick up somewhere. Yeah, we're gonna get some dick out here.
And the dynamic with the class, like to L's point, it wasn't just like completely all text based because we had video check-ins.
Yeah,
we had
there you go. Wait, because I want you to finish that, but wait. So, Better you I've heard you say this story at least 4 times. You ain't never say all of this. No what? Look, you mentioned important details. These are details.
BGS exposed it. BGS exposed it.
Right. Hey, why you think?
Because you know it's a hell of a thing for a professor to question you intellectually. That's got to be personal.
It's personal.
That's got to be almost emotional.
Yeah.
You know, that's a hell of a thing for a professor to do.
Is what in other words, unless you go on with her daughter or something like that.
It's simple.
Why she taking offense against you?
It's simple. You ain't give up the D, so you ain't get an A.
Yeah.
That's it.
Hold on. Let me ask Better you a question. Better do you have one of those Teddy Pendergrass / what's his name? Isaac Hayes. If you do, it's happening.
Now Freddie's dead.
He wanted your body, player. He wanted your body.
You show up looking like Tupac on the picture?
No.
I look like a nice young black professional in management.
Bullshit.
Let's just say Better You was built a little bit smaller than Better You was built a little bit smaller than Charles.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah, like
oh hell yeah. Oh yeah.
Black that man got Charles problems. That's what he got. He don't realize.
He does. He realizes it. He's trying to play innocent. No, we know what it was. We know where you got that grade, man. You do too. Hey, you caught that hint, man. So, oh man, I'm just gonna ignore it and buy it because it can't be what I think it is. You know exactly why you got that grade.
Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat. What's going on, Compassionate? What you got for us?
Hey, Z, trying to run that bullshit by me.
Right. So I never heard all these details because, Better You had said this story before, but this the first time I'm getting these details. Go ahead.
As soon as you said it, I peeped it. Okay.
What you say? I was so close with my dissertation to getting that 4.0, but something held me up. Nigga, you held me up.
Hey, Z, add the video to the stage real quick.
Okay. Is that the one that you were talking about?
No, this is a different one.
Okay, when you get a chance, you could play that after if you want to.
Bet. Hold on, he ain't pick it up.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm not surprised. I've studied the section on Klingon mating rituals in their virtual database.
I mean, like when she said you were intellectually inadequate.
Yes.
The
word inadequate.
I mean, damn.
Hey, I'm dropping the hints, Playboy. Look, I didn't walk past some vagina before. I didn't miss some vagina, not intellectual on that level vagina, but I didn't walk past vagina before and pretty much got hit in the head. Like, don't you see me here?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've been called gay so many times.
Hey, BJ, so it's funny. because they think you really reading those super subtle ass hints because they fear rejection. Bitch, I'm not studying that.
No. I know how many times shit got in front of me. This is a pussy, nigga.
Yeah. But to be fair, it's for a professor, it's kind of a Game of Thrones scenario where you have to present some degree of awareness about what they're not going to immediately say, "Come and give me some dick."
No,
they're going to put some breadcrumbs out there, and then you got to demonstrate your awareness about what's happening, and then things will flow from there. So when she say, after your initial encounter, y'all need to kind of meet to discuss things a little further, that's that initial breadcrumb, brother.
And I did. Because I when she first note, I was like, okay, a little bit. Let me stroke your ego a little bit. Hey, do I have the right understanding? Blah,
Wrong
blah, blah.
stroking.
I did that like 2-3 times. Got good grades. I'm like, all right, we good. And it was maybe another week or two. Then it was like she started shredding my shit again. I'm like, what the fuck? And then that's when I reached out to her for the final. Like, hey, look, let me make sure I got the right understanding.
I mean, some more breadcrumbs dropped.
You poor Steve Urkel who never understand the signs ass man.
No.
We're not feeling sorry for you.
What you were supposed to start doing at that point was having some more familiarity, joke around. At some point, y'all do some coffee, and then at some point, y'all fucking in the office.
Reach out.
That's what was supposed to happen.
You didn't reach out, okay?
Yeah.
Literally and figuratively reach out.
I'm not really getting it long distance. Is it possible for us to kind of get together, make some arrangements? I think if we kind of met up, I can get a better. I mean, that's what she needed you to do. So she knew.
Wait. Black Rule, you messed up. You said you were about to say get an understanding. You were about to say get an understanding, and I needed you to finish that. Go ahead.
Yeah, the understanding is literally under her.
Can I get a better understanding?
That was good. That would signal to her that you were down the fuck.
It really is that primitive, huh? Yes. Human beings are really those people. But especially black people.
Yeah.
Black women especially.
Yeah.
When it comes to that, like for real.
Yeah, but if it's a virtual class, come on, let's be real. If it's a virtual class and we got to meet up in person, of course somebody trying to fuck. Let's be real. So we don't even. So we as adults, we should both intuit that that's what it's about. It shouldn't have to be any more blatant than that.
Yeah. No, I agree with this. No, it really is that what everything in life is about sex except for sex. Sex is about power. Talk. Like everything in life is about yeah.
Exactly.
Wow, that's really
and like I say, every professor I've known, they had at least one or two. Well, most of them, the guys in particular, had several girlfriends in their class. But certainly they had at least one. Everyone that I've known. So that's just kind of.
You could play what you were trying to play earlier.
All right, but hey, you got to add it back to the stage, though. I can't.
Okay, give me a second. Give me 1 second.
This video really for Dr. T, because I was watching him the other day and talking about Richard Reeves, and it just came to mind.
Okay.
Bettina Sugar?
Yes.
Django isn't a slave. Django is a free man. You understand?
No,
you can't treat him like any of the other niggas around here because he ain't like any of the other niggas around here. You got it?
You want I should treat him like white folks?
No. That's not what I said.
Then I don't know what you want, Big Daddy.
Yes, I can see that.
Exactly. let me tell you, this is
very telling. By the way, this is
in the career. This is a hallmark moment in the career of Don Johnson.
Absolutely.
I mean, he was never better than he was as Big Daddy and Django. Yeah,
it's a crime.
That was fantastic. Yeah.
And it's very fitting. It actually is exactly the way America views black people post civil rights. Wait a minute. So we can't treat them like white folks? No. But we can't treat them like slaves? Not necessarily. then how the hell are we supposed to treat them?
Richard Reeves struggles to articulate. He's basically he's trying to make, obviously he's cloaking it in just malehood across the board, but when he speaks about black men, it's hard for him to actually say what he has to say, which is you can't treat these niggas like niggas no more.
Yeah,
but he doesn't actually mean treat them like white folks. So he's stuck between that rock and a hard place, and I just thought it was a perfect metaphor.
That's Lincoln. That's Lincoln.
Exactly.
I don't want them to be slaves, but
yes.
I'm not saying they us. They ain't us.
Thing.
I ain't saying they white.
The pathology they have leads down that same road often.
Yeah. Right. I'ma free them only because y'all forced my hand, but I ain't saying we gonna treat them like us. We still the intellectual superior. Don't get it twisted. I ain't saying all of that.
It's always about interest convergence, and then at some point they inherently just don't see our interests converging, so they can't really, they really can't. It's not.
Then watch your son suffer. Then I'm all about telling white dudes, hey, fine, you're not gonna help. You think it's gonna stay sequestered over here? Yeah. You couldn't even stop that during Jim Crow. It's definitely not gonna happen now. But so we'll fall first, and your sons will fall second. That's it.
But essentially, what you asking them is, all right, let's have our sons compete fairly for once. And these the same white boys have been watching Michael Jordan and Mike Tyson and Floyd Mayweather beat the shit out of them. Like just not
for like 50, 60 years.
So they
since Muhammad Ali.
They like,
hell Jack Johnson.
We're not competing fairly. Y'all tweaking.
Yeah.
What's going on with Richard Reeves basically and this kind of stuff basically is that why they have to include us kind of like in a sideways manner is because as soon as they start asking for the same shit that we've been asking for the last 50 years, they're gonna have to come to account for it. Now it's happening to you. Now you care, huh? When we have to us for 50 years, we say shit. So they have to address it first.
100%. Yeah.
They have to address it first.
When Reeves is pouring over that data, he keeps running into niggas.
Yeah.
So he has to include that argument in the shit because he already knows that would be too obvious. It'd be too easy.
The thing is, they've already run the data on us, and they're headed the same direction. So basically, they know this backwards and forwards, and they know they have to address it. That's why I said when it first came out, all you brothers who want to do something for black boys and black men, be at the front of the line because it's coming.
Absolutely,
yeah.
I'm putting my non-for-profit together now.
Yeah. So compassionate to what you were saying about the open competition. When you have open competition, you get Jack Johnson, you get Muhammad Ali, you get John Jones, you even get Lewis Hamilton in Britain. Honestly, you get crazy shit. Go ahead.
No, Z, really you don't, because those men came out of artificially constricted environment. Those the roses that grew through the concrete.
Yeah.
If they took off the concrete, it would be 50 Muhammad Alis, and then there's no competition. There's really no. So
they don't have
the real competition is that Robert Smith is richer than Elon Musk. That's the real competition. That's the final result of real competition.
They don't have a choice.
The real competition is the next 5 or 10 presidents of black dudes. And that's the real competition.
And BGS, that's what, and I appreciate you for putting me on the social dominance, Jim Sedanius. When you read his work, you start to more clearly see that illustrated, where this is really about resources and basically in groups competing for this finite amount of resources. So what you can't ask an in group to be fair. Let me fairly compete with you with this. A Leviathan or something has to regulate it. So without that, I mean, we can't ask black white men, hey, let's let our sons compete fairly. Like, no.
So what is the biggest reason for them actually including you and giving you at least a fair shot? Is because they have to.
Yes.
Because it saves them also. Yes. So they're in the space of, okay, are we going to cut our nose to spite our face? Are we going to throw out, because our sons are attached to their sons by the ankle, and if we throw them overboard, our sons fall off too.
And they can't cut their nose off to spite their faces anymore. They backs up all the way up against the wall.
I agree with you on this.
Right, they look right beside us and we're like, are we actually right here with you? Side by side? Yeah, motherfucker.
It would leave them in the same spot into black intersectionalists are in. Where like this space and this movement, BGS spearheading it with all the PhDs and shit, that's revealing the gaping hole in the intersectional framework. that y'all are not actually looking at the who's impacted at the intersection of race and class.
Yes.
Y'all are just making up a narrative and naming it the shit that.
That's why I'm including Pauli Murray, because that shit comes from Pauli Murray, right?
Yeah.
Intersection race and class, race, class, and gender, right? As we call it. I hate that word gender, but race, class, and gender, right? That comes from her, right? Because that's the whole theory of Jane Crow, which they hide. Okay, that's like a theory.
But
okay.
By the way, so because I understand, at least I think I understand why BGS hates this word gender, because they get to hide behind gender instead of saying sex.
Yes,
absolutely.
They hide behind gender because now we're talking about the performance of that sex, and so now that's when they get to start playing the game. Go ahead. Come back.
Yeah, no, because sex is too. I mean, like you said, gender is way more of a fucking. It obfuscates what you're saying, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah. No.
Yeah, it's just the way sex would typically show up as the performance of it, but the way they play the game is there's like a zillion different genders. I mean,
right.
I see that.
Like BGS said, it all comes back to Title IX when they had to put in that one word that BGS don't like, gender. When they put that, the white BGS told us a long time ago, them white people knew what they were doing when they put that word in there. That word was a breaking point.
Yeah, what we didn't realize, it was like 30 years of theory behind that shit before it even showed up.
Hello.
Right.
There's boxes and boxes of Pauli Murray's writings that are undiscovered because they're afraid to let that shit out.
Right.
They done rigged the whole damn game.
Oh yeah, they rigged the whole game, and black women, that's like black female scholars don't want to talk about it, right? Because that shows you where the rigged game started.
And you thought you would get way more than these couple of crumbs. Go ahead, Barry.
In my layman speak, I see gender as a backdoor for predominant society, i.e., white men and women, to niggify themselves and take away set asides for other groups.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm gonna put a pun to that, and it still makes sense.
Okay, this is the way it happened, and that's why I played that piece by her, right? Okay, she said it up front. You gotta remember, Pauli Murray was involved with Eleanor Roosevelt, all the top tier feminists, so-called second wave feminists at the time, right? Pauli Murray is an icon. Okay, she's not just some fly-by-night black bitch. Okay, she's not. Okay. Jane Crow was the theory they based on putting sex into the Civil Rights Bill. Okay, never was supposed to be there. Okay, and what Pauli Murray said, the black population was too small to get rid of sex discrimination. Right? If you gave the power to white women, they would actually do it for us. Right? That's what she said.
That was her argument. Okay,
that was her argument, right? That was her argument. Guess what they did? They gave all the civil rights, most of it, 83% of it, to white females. Guess what they didn't do?
And they still married their man and walked out the back door with everything.
That's how come white wealth exploded. Okay.
Yep.
Because you took what was supposed to go to black men to your man because you didn't want him to have power, because even back then, it's like I read that piece by her, right? In 1947, they didn't think black men were shit then. Okay.
Would you say BGS that work, or her work, was kind of like what they kind of buttress the postmodern outlook on? Like you said, they basically use the word gender and her ideas, like basically stripping the biology out of men and women's issues, to then go down this fucking rabbit hole of gender identity, because
that's where it started.
That's why these fucking motherfuckers are using the word sis all the goddamn time. Open up the Pandora's box.
Because if you go back, and that's why I'm gonna do the documentary, right? Because Pauli Murray thought she was a boy.
Oh, so this is exactly what that's built on.
All that stuff circulates around it, because for years she actually had an operation because she thought she had understood the testicles. Okay.
Wow. So they built the deconstruction of sex and gender basically off of Pauline Murray, and this is where we're at now, cis and all this other het and all this shit.
Cis het men.
And all that. Yeah, it's evolved from since then, but that's where it started. That's the initial seed of it.
Hold on, time out. Let me make sure I heard you right, Mr. BJ. You said she was intersex?
she wasn't. She thought she was. Okay, she was. We call
Did that concept exist when she was talking about that?
Not really. It was just budding. The thing is, we will call it sexual dimorphism.
Dimorphism, yeah, which means your mind and the way you operate and the way you move does not agree with your body. Translation: you think you're a boy, but you're really a girl. Layman's terms,
sexual.
There's an actual term for it. Yeah, dysmorphia. There we go. That's the one. That's the one. Yeah.
Wow. So the society basically been usurped by the Transformers.
No. Okay. Basically, philosophically, okay. This is something that Tommy Curry talks about, right? Okay. This is where the whole feminism actually started, right? Is because they were going to give black men the right to vote, okay? Because of the male suffrage, right? Coming out of the social contract, right? And white women did not want black men to have rights they didn't have, okay? Okay. Same thing with civil rights. He said it. We didn't think that black women, black men, should have rights that white women don't have.
Yes.
And they use Jane Crow, which intersecting feminism or sex discrimination and race discrimination, bottom together as an argument to put sex into the civil rights bill.
Wow.
And
they took all the fallacious assertions and theories about the dysfunction of black men,
right,
to justify it.
Yes.
That black men were so dysfunctional, so corrupted, so irreparably damaged by slavery and Jim Crow and whatever, that there's no way we can give them this power, this leverage. They would predate on black women, on white. They'd be a fucking terror to all of society. There's no way we can give them that
There's
power.
one word that describes this perfectly. Black men are simply irredeemable.
Yeah.
They're simply irredeemable. Yeah. And thank you for the cash out, Mr. Cash Out. Go ahead.
Because of the damage of racism, Jim Crow, and slavery, the black men, they're dysfunctional and irredeemable. Yeah.
Yeah. And they could what you find from certain scholars, the ones that are not, they're not so drooling at the mouth anti-black male, is maybe there was a sympathetic tone to it, but the overall message is exactly what Black Uru and BGS just said, which is like they're so irredeemable. Slavery really messed them up, right?
Polly was of that sort. If you listen, it was this sort of paternalistic kind of, they're this begone beings, and we cannot let them destroy themselves and the rest of us sort of thing. So we have to make some different decisions.
I don't know. Did Mr. Z? Did you actually look at no, maybe you didn't, because you're probably not part of my page. You actually reviewed Nothing But a Man.
No, I am part of your Patreon, but I haven't checked it out yet.
If you look at that movie, you can see the paternalistic view that black women had of their men. Okay.
And let me add this. Let me add this, because this is very important. Pretty much, it's black woman's version of the white man's burden.
Yes, it is. Literally,
that's what we're saying.
The white man's burden. What you mean by that?
Yeah. You never heard? So the white man's burden was to civilize the rest of the world. So this was what white people told themselves as they was colonized the planet. They were really not trying to claim what they were really doing, even to themselves. So they were saying it's their burden to drag everybody else into whatever century they were in. So let's say 18th century, 18th century, 19th century, 19th century. So they called it the white man's burden to civilize the rest of the world. So that's why when you heard from what was the name of the general from the South during Civil War? General Lee.
Robert Lee.
Yeah, Robert Lee. So if you ever read through any of his journals, I read this and I heard it. When he was speaking about like whipping the crap out of slaves helps to usher them in. The pain, like this dude off his rocker with this. The pain helps to usher them in and civilize them because they don't want to experience the pain. So it helps them really catch on really fast. Like he was literally talking like this. So that's the white man's burden.
Sound like some tinges of like that, some Protestant.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Islam does the same thing.
Yeah. There's a messianic element, very much a messianic element.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pain expedites the learning process. There's a lot of people that think that.
Of course, there were two major events, a lot of minor events, but two major events that disproved that shit to the utmost. They were called World War I and World War II.
Yeah.
Yeah, not really. But you said something. We were talking about this a couple of years ago. I'll be remembering this shit. And we were speaking about World War II and how, and we got about 10 more minutes left, guys. We were talking about how World War II just completely might have destroyed the European spirit, right? Because like we were saying,
I think it explains everything about Europe, about the birth rates, about all of that.
Yeah.
I think they basically neutered themselves from an evolutionary standpoint.
Yeah,
by both of those wars put together.
Yeah.
I think they decentralized themselves as human beings by doing what they did.
By the end of World War II, like 7 monarchies fell.
Yeah. Let me add something onto that, and not only let's add this onto that: the nuclear bomb. So it's World War I, World War II, and then when you think about the destructive force of the nuclear bomb, I think that just put the halt on a whole lot of.
Did stop a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's frightening when you think about something that when it initially explodes has the power of the sun, right? And like evaporates everything within how many mile radius, right? Just when you think about the power of that, plus you think of what a tank shell does to the body, right? The people in Europe that experience that, I think that not just them, their kids, their grandkids, and now we're living in a generation of their great grandchildren. That just really shredded any idea that they might want to go back. And the technology is even more catastrophic now. That what a tank could do to a tank from World War II was just ridiculous.
I mean, to really put some funk on it, what kind of soulless beings would create the means to destroy all life 1,000 times over on Earth? That to me, that's a level of spiritual corruption that is irredeemable.
Yorugu.
That's irredeemable. You don't fix that.
Yeah. And by the way, not only I got to keep on answering like we were saying. So you have that, right, and then you have the ability to deliver this devastating godlike power by land, sea, and air, right? So literally, you got nukes, submarines floating across at any moment. Red button, it's out of there. And imagine just being on a boat, on a random boat in the Pacific Ocean, and you just see the things launching from the water. That's crazy.
Here's the other part: you bankrupt the financial futures of your children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren to pay for all that shit. So you tie all of the future of humanity to that shit.
Yeah. I mean, even when you look at the U.S. military budget, which the part of it that they're admitting, not the black budget, it's like some 800 and some odd $billion. So really like $1.5 trillion, right? So $800 billion is what they're willing to admit to right now, or a little bit over 800. Bro, that's everything that's everything Xers, millennials, and Gen Z are asking for.
You got people you can't educate, you can't medicate, you can't house by the millions. And you spent trillions of dollars for shit that you dare not use. That's not a society that deserves, when you think about it, that's not a society that deserves to survive. That society does not deserve to survive. And we can laugh about it, but we in this motherfucker. We're in this dystopian spiral.
Yeah.
Those parts.
And no, but BGS was resonating the other day when you was cussing millennials out. Because we actually, I was telling my girl this, like, when you really just think about it, we kind of, and I guess this is kind of, hindsight being 2020, because we already kind of lost control of the ship at this point. But we haven't, like Uru was just saying, we in this society essentially just sitting, like, observing them running into the fucking ground with absolutely no pushback.
Hey, bro, you ain't just observing it. Hey, every time you
You're
pay
on
your
the
taxes,
plane
you
with them.
paying for it.
Yeah. You're in
You paying for it.
Yeah. Damn.
To add on to that, I think for being a millennial, as millennials, I've said this to you, Black Guru and BGS, the way the overall ethos was not marriage, children, all of that. It's get your money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, how many of us actually have the money? That, like, almost none of us, right? If y'all not leaving it to us as boomers, we probably don't got it. Except for a handful of us that are super talented or good looking or whatever the hell, hardworking, whatever. But for the most part, we don't got it like that. So that was the system or the society's way of getting the masses of people out of politics, out of fighting against whatever, is get your money. We're not going to tell you how difficult we're going to make it for you to get that money, but yeah. Go ahead.
Who's the founder of Facebook? What's his name?
Mark Zuckerberg. Yeah.
Zuckerberg. Didn't he supposedly spend like a couple of $100 million on some kind of self-contained
bunker or something?
System or
yeah. So I heard.
We motherfuckers need to start paying attention to shit like that.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's a sign.
Okay, Mr. Z. If the word was get your money, how come we have all these millennials starting businesses, going overseas, trying to do trade, trying to get their money up? What happened to that?
I didn't tell you we got it. I said the message was to get your money. I say nothing about whether we got it or not.
No, BGS. This is what I would say. I would say the message.
We didn't go after it.
Wait. Who told you we didn't go after it? BGS, you asking the wrong questions.
No, BGS. I'll put it a different way. It was less
the
about
word is not get the money and somebody else's money. It's get your money, right? What getting your money?
BGS. I'll put it a different way.
Almost all of us failed. Go ahead.
I'll put it a different way. It wasn't just that we were told to get the money. We were told to worry about our damn self.
Yes. Hyper individualism.
So when you ask, because you're right, I'm not really disagreeing with our disposition is fucked up, but the prior generation forgets who raised us. We were raised we weren't raised that do collective action. We weren't raised to, like you said, you can't really relate to that because you come from a different structure, Mr. Structuralist realist.
Okay. I'm gonna give you a realist term, right? How come we didn't have a whole bunch of Gordon Geckos? Okay,
from the Black millennial.
Yeah.
Why we didn't? Because
we did have a bunch of Gordon Geckos. They got caught up in the crack era
and drugs.
They got caught up in the drug era. That's what happened to the Black Gordon Geckos.
When you say Freeway Ricky Ross?
Gen Xers.
No, I'll tell you.
Those were Xers. Those were Xers.
I'll tell you the Gordon Geckos. Like you don't again. Black millennials were told to get it how they live. You were told by your parents, all right, look, you got to go out here and get it. We weren't. So Gordon Geckos doesn't emerge as an individual. So we were moving literally as individuals. We were signing up for college. Hey, what college you going to, bro? Oh, that shit dope. All right, I'm gonna do my application. We were not collaborating even by the time we got to college. We were not collaborating to hit Wall Street, to hit tech markets. We weren't collaborating to start startups like the white boys did. We were getting high and paying that expensive ass college that they was fucking us for.
And fucking don't leave out you wasn't fucking because
and that's even for some.
Right, and for sometimes you was fucking, but most of the times you was getting finessed by your counselors and they weren't leading you down no track. You weren't being advised. Your parents didn't advise you. My parents did not sit down with me and fill out my FAFSA. Exactly. So the structure we was coming out of was hyper individualistic. We were not told to build, to join with other Black millennials, build companies. We didn't see that growing up. Boomer, y'all didn't move like that either.
Really? Yes, we did. What are you talking about?
Well, I mean, did you?
Yes.
Y'all. Where's all the Gordon Geckos? Where y'all Gordon Geckos at?
Robert Smith is one of them.
Okay.
To be fair,
they also got Byron Allen. They got
to the millennials. To be fair to the millennials, most of the investment, you know, this is true, BGS. Most of the investment was made in the bitches. vast majority of the programming
that too,
in the 90s and everything after that was all being invested in these girls. You know that. So there was no development at all of any sort of collective of young black men. I can hardly think of any major mass scenario or effort to try to encourage and train and inspire young black men to work together. I just hardly recall that happening.
So where the bitches at then?
Bitches don't build.
Well, they
don't build.
We got Angela Yee. We got the city girls. We got
exactly.
Angela Rye.
And Meg Thee Stallion. That's what we get from the bitches.
Those was
we get Cardi B from the bitches.
Hold on a second.
Oh, matter of fact, I will get spicy for you. Doja Cat.
No. The Doja Cat.
Yeah, that's what we get.
Okay. The thing is, this is what happened, right? Especially to the millennials, right? Okay.
Talented broken bitches. That's what we got. Go ahead.
Bill Clinton wanted to reduce welfare by 2/3, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which he did, right?
Yeah.
But to take care of single mothers, what did he have to do? Okay, he had to give them jobs, he had to give them college, he had to give them grants and all this other kind of shit. This shit was housing was built to actually for single mothers, not just black, but all of them, right? So they invested in women, okay? But black men have never been invested in, okay? This, the small window that we had was between 1968 and 1978, right after what is it, the Kerner Commission, okay? Had to invest in boys, right? Right after that, they took all that shit, okay? So that little 10 years, and guess who was a fucking boomer at that time, okay? Guess who's a fucking boomer, okay? I saw them snatch that shit, okay?
And that's
we might have had more of a chance, ironically, had it was Ted Kennedy's fault. When Ted Kennedy primaried Carter, we might have had more of a chance if Carter wins in 8.
Go back and look at the.
But we definitely would have had more of a chance during the extra Carter administration than we had under the damn Reagan administration.
Well, maybe not. But the thing is, go back and look at the Bakke decision, right? Okay, that's when it started. From 76 to 77, right? Because when I entered the college, the Bakke decision had started snatching that shit already in 77. Okay.
Right.
So basically,
that's true. But in the early 80s, that shit really ramped up, and Reagan was specifically calling for the termination of this, the taking the money out of that. The whole budgeting process behind the Reagan administration was taking money out of the Boys and Girls Clubs and the YMCA and all that shit that helped to support black communities.
So to y'all point, as a millennial, that was our literally, we was growing up in that right shortly after that.
Joe's has the answer in the comments. Somebody read. Wait. Joe's comment is right here. Joe says millennials got the bootstrap. Millennials got bootstrap talk while the girls had their hands held up the stairs. Had their hands held up going up the stairs. So that's what happened. That's literally what happened.
That actually fueled the individualism.
You go back to 1947, right? The 40s, the 30s, and 40s and 50s, right? Okay, where little boys had to drop out of fucking grade school to go to work so that the little girls can actually go to school, right? It's always been a goddamn case.
Did.
It's not new.
Did.
So trying to blame a generation.
I mean, I remember that in my own family. I remember that in an extended family.
Yes.
I remember a cousin of mine working to pay for his sister to go to Delta State in Mississippi. I remember that.
My granddad had a 6th grade education. He dropped out at the age of 12. He was born in 1922.
My point, BGS, I'm not.
The black women turn around and blame us for that shit because after they get just like they do now, right? After they get their degree and sit in their little office, right, and their little pink collar, white collar job, then they look down on black men that sacrifice for them. That's why you have the Black Manosphere now. Go ahead.
And that's why I say I don't personally, as a black millennial male, don't blame. I especially don't blame like you black boomers males. Not you guys that specific demographic.
Well, you're in the minority, cuz.
Well, yeah, because
according to a lot of your peers, the black male boomers fucked up the whole world.
To go to what compassionate says. Yeah, they're not only that, but there's a certain level of ignorance that certain people online are taking way too much advantage of. If you think I'm saying your name, I'm saying your name. So they're taking advantage of the collective ignorance and anger of Xers, and especially younger Xers, but Xers and millennials. And so they take advantage of that, and they continue to direct all of it to the Black boomers because they don't want to get off of the "we never really had it like that." So many, I promise, the base of the conversation is like, especially for ADOS, like y'all got reparations and niggas blew it on some dumb shit. I promise you, if you listen to these people talk, they start talking like everybody had farmland and everybody had a house and everybody and then boomers just blew the shit. They blew all. I didn't want to say his name, but you said it. Thank you. Right? So like so like and that's the underlying kind of framing of this. Go ahead.
I can tell this. Jason Black is a fucking liar. You know why? Now comes from my mother's hometown. That's bullshit. Okay.
Yeah.
When
I heard him say,
I mean, my wife's grandma, they literally had to flee.
Yes.
Their farmland in fucking Arkansas. They were lynching people down there, man. I often wonder what fucking world some of you younger brothers came from. What did y'all read?
I'll give you real quick before you go, because it's not just him. Because there's another brother that we used to see here all the time. We used to go to fisticuffs about this, right? So and right. Anyway, another brother, right? That we used to go to.
I knew who you were talking about.
Thank you. Right. So, and we used to go back and forth on this shit because they just can't. And sometimes they've had personal experience with their own boomer family members. So I give space for that. I don't have nothing to say about that, right? Whatever you experience personally or maybe a cousin or whatever, that's a different conversation. But when you paint it as a bigger narrative that Black boomers were on it, y'all were like almost there, and Black boomers just torched everything. When BGS tell you they shut down the tap, they shut off the tap in 78. It was on in 68. They turned it off in 78. That's a decade.
We have a cultural obvious. I'm starting.
That's Reconstruction, bro. That's bullshit. That's Reconstruction all over again. Go ahead.
I'm seeing that shit. That's how I know.
I'm seeing the pattern that basically is always Jermaine's fault every generation. The A's will say
Absolutely.
millennials fucked it all up. That's what's gonna happen if we keep this same momentum, because that's based. It's not really based in any type of fact. It's just we're culturally used to
say the word compassionate,
blaming niggas for everything. So
say the word. It's
like
a feeling.
Even in this exactly, it's a feeling. Even in this space, it comes out. We're all still we still from the Gynocracy. Let's not get it fucked up. So it comes out in this space that we kind of reactively we just as a knee-jerk reaction blame the prior generation, especially the men of that generation. So, my point wasn't. I agree with you. Your chastisement of millennials' actions is an adequate assessment. But when I look at you don't want to taught me structuralism. So when I look at the structure that we was coming out of, though, I can see why we ain't fucking, like you said, we ain't advocating for no fair housing acts or nothing. That's not part of our
we were primed. Thank you, because we were primed. We were primed, and it did. And I need y'all to have a bit of sympathy with millennials on this. We were primed that we are the children of Gordon Gekko, right? We were primed that it really is all about the money, and collective action is some bullshit. Because remember, we're talking about the fall of the Soviet Union and all this other shit. So all of this, wait, BGS, let me land with this. All of the idea of collective, whatever the fuck, unionization. Remember, all of this is getting shredded in the 60s, late 60s, 70s, 80s. And the culmination of all of that is when we start being born. But by the time you start getting to the mid 90s and stuff like that, a lot of people, and that's where Francis Fukuyama come in. That argument is done. It's all about hyper individualism.
By the time we coming of age, our ass is completely out to the market.
Yeah,
we learn
exactly.
Hustle culture.
Get your answers in the market. Yep.
We learned the Powell memo. 101 was in full-fledged. The market was completely we was watching Even Stevens and Big Mansions and all this weird shit. We were not being told nothing about collective action, unions. We were not being taught that, and you see it now.
Even 9 to 5.
We don't have that in our language.
I'll give you one more, BJ, one more example.
I thought you were land. Okay,
no, my bad. But no, so one more example. So one of my So one of the places I work, Reckless Streams. One of the places I work, one of my coworkers is a boomer, funny enough, and we were having conversations about one of his nephews. He was like, "Z, he don't want to work like this. He want to start a business." And even and dude is retired. He used to be corrections officer, so making good money, 6 figures, years on end. And he said, "Bro, I will talk to some of the guys that are still in there, and they trying to start a bit. They want to quit that to start a business. And you ask them what they want to start a business on, they don't know." And I'm like, "Yeah." And when he tell me the age of some of these cats, they're around my age. And I'm like, "Yeah." And I walk him through. That's how we were raised.
Yes.
We were raised. That 9 to 5 shit is some bullshit.
It's not individual decision.
Thank you. Yeah, exactly. That's how we were primed. But go ahead, BGS.
Okay, okay, I get that, right? Okay, okay. Say I take all the excuses that you just put up, right? Okay.
Well, I got to be excuses though. Well, I got to be excuses.
Dr. Malvo.
When did reasons become excuses?
Dr. Malvo.
Okay, thank you. When did reasons become excuses?
In other words, I don't have my homework because the dog ate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not.
But the dog really did eat the homework, though. We got proof. Go ahead.
Let me land, right? Okay. I'm late because Ma dropped me off, right? That's an excuse, okay? That's an excuse, okay?
That's not BGS. Be real. No, we don't have the homework because Mama wasn't teaching us how to read. So there ain't no.
So okay. Granted, you don't know how to read, right? That's what I'm getting ready to get to, right? You don't know how to read, okay? Are you gonna stay illiterate?
No.
Okay. So okay, this is what, no matter what happened in your past, because trust and believe, we had as boomers, we had Jim Crow, we had all that bullshit. My mother was a fucking sharecropper, okay? Goddamn cotton, okay?
Vietnam War against crime coming in the crack.
I get you.
Just all the Rust Belt, all that shit.
All that shit.
Okay,
the dollar, all that shit, right?
I hear you.
Austerity, Reaganism, all that kind of shit, right? We could use that as an excuse, couldn't we not?
You absolutely could.
So in other words, at the end of the day, when you look at a boomer, fuck the excuse, right? What are we doing now, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. No, we on the same page as far as like what we have to what's the options for
Gen Z right now ain't getting no fucking excuses, right? Okay, you're lonely, you ain't got no woman, you're not working, you ain't making no families, blah blah blah, and they just getting off the ground, right? Okay.
Oh, and that's why they're so nihilistic. If you're gonna go there, BGS, then you gotta go all the way there. That's why they're so goddamn nihilistic.
But we don't give them any breaks, right? Motherfucker, how come you're not doing this? How come you're not out chasing girls? How come you're not getting away off the screen? Blah, 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 right? But when it comes to millennials,
okay, BGS, I got a retort.
Hold on, let me land.
Go ahead.
I'll let y'all land, right? Okay. So I raised 3 of them, right? I know what it is. Basically, what we did, we're taught to put the pillow underneath the baby's head, right?
Yep.
Don't let their feet touch the ground. You got to baby them. Everybody gets a fucking trophy. Everybody's a special snowflake. Blah 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 blah. Baby, if you follow your dreams, you're gonna get rich, right? Okay. You don't really have to work that hard. You don't have to suffer and struggle because mama and daddy and grandma and grandpa and great grandpa, we fought slaves to get you to this point where you don't have to do that shit, right? Okay. That's the boomer's mistake. Okay?
Yeah, now the girls got serious main character syndrome, and even when the world punches the boys, I'm going there. I'm answering that right now. Go ahead. No. But I'm saying, but I'm getting to that because what I'm saying is the world still puts the foot in the ass, especially of black boys. You're not gonna be allowed to be immature for too long. Period. You're either gonna end up dead, or in jail, or get
So why? I'll give one. Brian McMurtry. He's 40 something years old. He still acts like he's fucking 19. Why is that? If you got the foot put up there.
Outliers. Anyway, that's why I will just put that on the table. Outliers.
Some people get beat into submission. He has enough of a support system to subside.
Yeah,
that's why
I got 3 of you guys. I got 3. My oldest, he's 39. Okay, my oldest millennial is 39.
I mean, my daughters are doing okay, but they probably know if they fuck up, I'm here to, as a bailout program.
I think this is the wall we're running into. I think if we gonna look at it, we can't look at it structurally one moment and then look at it individually.
Anecdotally,
So it's just structural. This is not anecdotal.
Exactly. So let's go the structural route. Like you said, the product basically. Is it correct if I establish this premise that if we're looking at it structurally, the outcomes are not based on individual total autonomy, essentially? Like the outcomes so by that I mean like the outcomes y'all see in millennials, the kind of the babiness, the softness, the make excuses, blah blah blah. Like you just said, we were socialized in the system that way.
Okay.
So we're not choosing as individuals to be bitch ass niggas, basically.
No. We are leaving out. Go ahead.
Let me land. Yeah,
go ahead.
And I'm not. It sounds like
after this Black Guru, go ahead.
I'm not right. Obviously, what you taught us, taught me at least, is the women fucking they were given control of the education system, and they essentially the ones that start institutionalizing that passing trophy shit out to everybody and softening up everything and making everything their hard feelings. So I'm not blaming you guys. The government, the Leviathan did that. Yes. You guys are just standing on the side like, oh shit, my kids are becoming bitches and I'm gonna have to compensate for this. I get it. But it's still the reality is we were wholesale socialized into these type of individuals that are like
So when do you realize that you're going down the wrong path and changing what you
now?
Yesterday.
Thank you. I said now. He said yesterday. Thank you. Thank you. Now, thank you. Wait, because this matters. Notice the answers. Me and Compassionate didn't type in the background that we were gonna. Hey, by the way, no. So like I said yesterday. What I said now, and he said yesterday. No, literally, it's time, and it's being hit upside the head with shit. But understand what happened. The women sacrificed their children for a lifestyle and to get away from the man. That's what happened. They sold out their children for a bag and a biz and middle management.
Especially the son.
And we are those.
And that's what happened.
That's
what happened.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah. And that's what happened.
And what I'm saying, and this is, I know all that, right? Because I raised three of them, right? We talked about. I remember, God, it's got to be 20. Jesus Christ, at least 20 years ago, maybe more than that, right? When my kids were like in their teens, right, the early teens, right, and me and his other brother, let's talk about it. So these kids are not going to be like us, okay? They're raised different in different environment, and we can't put the same kind of pressure on them that you put on us because they're not built for that shit, right? Because they're not raised for that shit, right? And basically, at the time we were taught this Dr. Spock shit, stuff like that we're doing right for our kids, right? You don't want to put the same kind of pressure on them because you want them to be different kind of people, right? And then all shit when they start going, oh fuck.
Yeah, basically.
I mean, okay. That's it. I think they OD'd on that. It's different times. It demands a different type of dude, but not really. It's a more modified version of you. It's not a softer, more cuddlier kind of you. Yeah, no, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you, BJS. But what I think ended up happening, especially because the women took over, is that they raised softer men that their daughters then ended up not wanting to be with, and then harder women, and not really harder, more aggressive. There we go. More aggressive women, more entitled women that their sons don't want to be with.
What did Polly Murray say? They bred a more aggressive type of woman, right?
Oh yeah, the switch up.
47, and so white women became black women. In fact, I'm going to respond to a whole Medium post saying the exact same shit.
Repeat that. What you say?
About what?
You said white women. You said who became
white men became black women?
No,
that's what I thought I heard.
In other words, Polly Murray said, and that's why I read it. I read the piece to you, right?
Yeah.
I sent the piece to you. She said black women were actually in revolt, right? And black women have been educated and bred because they had to be breadwinners, all this kind of shit, to be the most aggressive human beings on the planet, right?
Right? I remember you said, I remember that part.
Yeah. So now that was in 1947. So now white women are becoming black women.
Oh yeah, no, I said that. So I said this before years ago, and everybody was doubting me in the comments. Oh, I was on Roger Report's channel. This is like 3 years ago, and I said believe it or not, we all speak about the myth of white womanhood and how black women are jealous of white women, but white women are jealous of what they feel like is black women's autonomy.
Yes.
And everybody was doubting, like, and I'm like, how do y'all not see it? Yeah, how do you? Yeah.
Because black women tell you their whole life they're not jealous of white women. Yeah, they constantly. If you ask, I've asked multiple black women over my life, "Hey, y'all, why are you jealous?" Or I can tell you're envious, and they insist on they're not. And why would they be? And what? Why would I care about blah blah blah? So
That's like the devil in the lie. That's like the devil in the lie slogan.
Of course.
I'll say this though. I think the problem that everyone is having is the person that's the least likely to play the game as of right now. It looks they chip it out away at them are white men. The problem is that white women will get with black men. Clearly, black women will get with white men, but it's white men that are like, I don't know about Keisha. I'll smash, but I don't know.
Well, because they've always been getting with Keisha.
Exactly.
In fact, she said it in her piece, right? Basically, white men use black women for sex, right? In red light districts, they come across the line at night, in the dead of night, fuck black women, go back across the line like they ain't done shit, right? They've always had access to black women.
That's why
Black women don't like their place
always
with white men.
And so that term honky come from.
Well, but white men know in a truly open mating market, there are no more, after a few generations, there are no more white people. They know that. And as a white man who has effectively been at the top of the totem pole, they functionally go away in a future open market.
Hey, who wants to read Trell's comment because it's hysterical? Y'all go ahead. Somebody.
Becky wants to be Keisha. Keisha wants to be with Brad. Brad is sexually attracted. Oh goddamn!
There you go. Go ahead. You got to read the whole thing. You got to read the whole thing.
That's the quiet part out loud.
Brad is sexually attracted to Jamal. It is all debate.
It's all debate. It's all debate. It's all right.
And that's the part again. And I think, Jim Sedanius touched on the sexual component to social dominance and in-group, out-group competitions. And like you said, that goes to a darker place where, and like you said, a plot twist that, like you said, which is a Tommy Curry instantiated with phallicism and how they kind of they was obsessed with the phallus on a plantation. So it definitely gets real weird real quick if you go down that road.
And so that's why you hear me speak about this the way I do on my channel is as a person that's been propositioned by a couple of white dudes, especially when I was younger and slimmer and had a hairline. But it's weird, like you said, and you ever see a woman cringe when a dude walks up to her? Like I caught myself doing that. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you weirdos? Rather serious because it's some weird shit. It's really and as a dude, you're not used to clearly you're not used to dude,
If anybody works in the trades, you work and I'm in the trades and work around a bunch of country white boys and shit. And I go to company, and every time they have the dick joke thing. Black dick jokes is the most funniest thing to white boys. Which once I read Tommy Curry, it took a whole different dimension to what they was really meaning by it.
It all over the world. That's like
try to be the only black guy in the troop of auditors and consultants.
The white collar white dudes.
You're in Maine somewhere, well, New Hampshire, and you're in a bar. And they start playing music, and you start dancing to the music, and then the next thing you know, the four white chicks in your group start dancing with you, and you got the white guys looking up at what's happening.
Low key, wait. Let me finish that for Black Rule. Low key wishing that they were with both of you.
Ooh, see, that's the part black men. That's the part.
Or at least could watch.
Yeah, exactly. That's the part black men don't ever consider. And like I said, this movie. A fiction writer couldn't make up what we've been taught. Like if you put this whole epoch, the deception, the weird ass sexual components, all this together, a fiction writer couldn't make a better story.
Let me put it this way: Hollywood knows what's going on. Because they do it. Look at what happened with the Democratic donor, that they found one LGBTQ brother in his house, and then like damn near a year and a half later, another one. Right? So everybody knows the dirty little secret. It's just no one talks about it out loud.
I don't think black men are the only ones that don't know. Like in this space,
they don't talk about it. They know.
Yeah, we uncover histories and shit that like black in this space that black men, even black men, aren't starkly aware of.
They won't admit.
I think black men know. I think we're somewhat skeeved and disgusted, and we know we're uncomfortable with our role in this whole thing, in the whole thing, and the obviously the part with the white men and white women, but even the black woman, we're kind of disgusted by it.
We are the most objectified body on the planet.
Yeah. We just look at it, it's like the guy looking at your dick in the locker room, all that. It's like everybody's just and the black women essentially blaming you because the white woman wants to fuck you. Blaming you for that. Right. It's just all very disgusting.
Well, so as I said, I think real quick, better you and then you next. So like I was saying, the black male body, I would argue, is the most objectified body on the planet, number one. And number two, I was speaking about this a couple of days ago. It's the hypervisibility of black men that black women are jealous of. And I wonder if they're willing to take that sacrifice, though, because the hypervisibility comes with the death. The hypervisibility comes with the lockup.
What do you mean by willing to take that sacrifice?
No. Well, if you want to be this visible, then you got to take everything that comes with it.
You got to die with it.
You got to die. You got to literally die over it. You got to get locked up over it, right? You got to get targeted, right?
Because, of course they're not, because they're, like I said, what's motivated
after it's better
just representation and sympathy from white folks. But if it required getting hung from trees and drunk behind trucks or shot in the head by police, they're not. Of course they're not. Which is what makes it so ridiculous of a concept that we hog attention by our deaths somehow.
What else do they have? It's called propaganda, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure the motherfucker would rather be alive than to be getting attention because he's dead.
Obviously, right?
But I think also that there's an uncomfortable truth with a lot of things, because sometimes you hear, the saying "truth is stranger than fiction."
Yep.
Yes.
And I remember being in college. It was my first year away from home, and I remember one of my white roommates at the time. His grandfather had died. He went to a probate hearing for inheritance. His granddad left him a few things, and he left him a trunk. And I remember he came back and he said, like, "Yo, granddad had it looked like a dick in a pickled dick in the jar."
Lord.
And I'm thinking to myself, like, he's fucking around. And, just kind of writing it off. But then, when you learn your history.
And there's so many layers to that.
I don't know if that's the word you wanted to use, but yeah.
And it's like, I don't know if this is a bad joke. I don't know if this is real. I don't, you know what I'm saying? But that shit's real, and it happened to people. And there's people right now.
His grandfather held on to a pickled phallus.
Yep.
And passed it down to his grandson.
And
he said he gave him a trunk, and that trunk had a bunch of old stuff in it. So their family did fight in the Confederacy. That much I know.
So say less.
He had a Confederate uniform. And everything, and heirlooms from that had been passed through for the generations and whatnot, from like his father's father and grandfather and all that shit. So he wasn't surprised by some of that, but he was like, I don't know why this is here. I don't, he kind of like laughed, like, it can't be what I thought it was. Ha ha ha.
It's exactly. And so he was.
Hey man, y'all don't want to go. Y'all don't want to go into the sheds and the safes of some of these white folks. Y'all see all kinds of dicks and swastikas and all kinds of shit up in some of these places. Y'all do not want to go. And these people will pass. See, you gotta pay attention to how the European operates, like historically. To them, a black man's dick is a family crest. Like it's a symbol of conquering. You gotta view it from the mind of these people. So they'll tell that eldest son, look here, come here, son. This is between father and son. This go back to your great, 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 great grandfather, Sam Wilson, or whatever the hell the white man's name would have been back then. This is a family. It's been passed from the eldest male in every family up to this point. I'm gonna be checking out in a little while. We know I done got the fourth. I've got the diagnosis. So I'm passing this honor on to you. And like I pass this on to you in the strictest of confidence, you pass this on your deathbed or whatever to your son. They will do shit like that.
Yeah.
That's how they operate. That's how they think.
And see, like
let me read this real quick. No, you're good. And Allspeth says, my grandmother's hometown was burned to the ground and their land was taken. Blame the boomers for what exactly? So go into what we said, because they over here getting their peens chopped off as kids. But number two, I think there's this illusion, and it's as from Americans writ large, but it's really frightening when you see it from black folks, particularly like I want to say Xers, younger Xers in particular, because I don't see this with Art Newstyle and a couple of other brothers. Is this illusion of advancement, right? And it's like, because have you ever had a conversation with someone and they say something real old school? It might be like calling any Asian person a Chinaman or something, or you like any type of, and you're like, nigga, you know we don't do that no more, right? You know that's offensive, right? Like, you know we don't, right? So, and it's like, so there's this illusion of advancement, and like we're not there anymore. And I think in a more not so recent, but in a kind of recent time when it really hit me is when the alt-right marched with the tiki torches, right? And I was watching the show on YouTube, The Grapevine, and watching, it was a lot of black immigrants, but even ADOS people my age, right, even older than me by a couple years, watching their reaction to that. But and clearly they're in New York, so they don't really get the South like that. So watching their reaction and being surprised by the white boying is very it reminded me that there are people that have never considered and never had to consider that this is still a thing. Yeah. Even with Trayvon, even with Mike, Mike Brown, Jordan Russell Davis, like they know those things are happening, but they didn't know that white folks were this. And what the host actually said something that let me know how bad it was. Black woman, I think, born and raised here, African descent, Nigerian descent, right? And she was like, but these are like hipster looking white dudes, and yet they wearing like the Trump, khaki pants with the white shirt.
They was making fun of it, right?
Yeah, but right. So, and I just recalled thinking to myself, Ashley, you're older than me. How do I'm a child of immigrants too? How do I know it and you don't?
Right. But it's been a concerted effort to at basically every level to kind of get past race and be like, that's why we're cis het men on a panel right now. That's been more that. So like you said, to the Z's and to A's, like that's not a part of their schema by design. It's part of what I was telling BGS, like the millennials are just a wave before that, where we understood civil rights movement. We were educated. We had grandparents and parents that my mama was in Louisville, Kentucky. She was born in 1950. Like my mama, so she already knew. We were a lot closer, but as time went on, again, especially how the family split, we had no protection from families by the time millennials came of age. So we were ass out to the market, and we were being taught we were supposed to be post-racial. It was supposed to be a multiculturalism. It was supposed to be a new, a whole different society. And then Z's are just a worse evolution to that, and A's are going to be a worse evolution to that. And they're not
here's the problem:
recognize a white
until it punches them in the face. And the difference is, at least for us, once you hear your Latino or your white homeboy say something,
yeah, we know.
Now you know what it is. For what frightens me about like what you're saying with Gen Z, and because they're caught up in everything else, like you're saying, their sexuality and all this other stuff, weird stuff, is they're gonna have to get knocked on their ass. If it has to be that blatant, then you're dead. If it has to be that blatant, then you're already in prison. If it has to be that blatant, if it has to be that blatant, the people got that much ups on you that when you realize what just happened to you, it's too late.
And
is what I'm
what's
saying.
worse,
right?
they're gonna get knocked on their ass and not even know why. They're gonna
why? That's the worst.
Hustling
Yep, I agree.
The way they're like
like
millennials know, like that's why we can relate to Uru and BGS. What they're trying to tell us. We understand. We got a shared premise of that we understand.
I'll give you the perfect anecdote. Yo, even for all of us that ever had that cool ass white homeboy, our moms and our dads will always say, "Hey, remember you can't do what he could do.
Yeah,
you can't do what he could do, right?"
Yep.
So you, even when you have the cool ass white friend, your parents always. What I'm saying is, the weirdo millennials are raising their children, their Gen Alpha children. They're not, especially the women. They're not telling them that. So
absolutely,
but like with Compassion is saying, when they get punched, they're not even going to realize what it is. And you already see that. This is the thing, and I'm gonna pause right here after this. The thing that drives me the craziest with some of these conversations is when you watch a black person go through some racist shit, and then they play it down, and it's not even no agenda, it's no money coming, it's none of that shit. They go through some racist anti-black shit, and they play it down. And the frightening thing is, now, because back in the day, you knew it was cooning, right? If a boomer did that, you knew it was cooning. If an extra did that, you knew it was cooning. Even an older millennial, you knew it was cooning. Now, when you get into the younger millennials and some of this Gen Z, they may not be cooning. I mean, effectively, it is cooning, but it really is coming from no, that ain't race. That's
they gonna watch. Jordan, they watch Jordan Peterson, and go. They're gonna make up their bed and try to get on some self-improvement shit. That's what they're gonna think, or going to be told what the solution is. It's not even gonna be pointed towards structure or racial disparity or it's not gonna be none of that.
The thing I hate. The thing that I hate is a lot of times when I hear some of the younger folks talk, they'll say it without saying it and think that they said some big brain shit. It's not race; it's just socioeconomic differences in people.
Right.
And but that once again, so just like we were saying in BGS and Black Uru, that's how they were raised. So it may not be from literally you, better you, because I know you have a son, right? It's not you, right? And so it won't be necessarily your son, but your son's age group, the way they're being raised is this, right? So you especially, this is what's weird about these certain commentators. That's why I make it the distinction between the Black manosphere and all the rest of whatever the hell going on with those other dudes is the way they speak is to be a man is you not complaining about shit. Now, so they complain about the women here and there, but no, you eat that. Right, and so going to what you were saying, compassion, exactly. So going to what you were saying about Jordan Peterson, it's that no, you make up your room first, you become alpha first, and then if something is messed up, then you can address it, right?
Yeah,
which is
absolutely.
So you don't ever address the structure that's screwing everyone. No. You become alpha yourself, and then you fix whatever you could fix for yourself. Screw everybody else. Exactly. Which is, once again, this is that Ayn Rand bullshit. They're just packaging you differently to a bunch of disgruntled ass young black men, or young men in general. But obviously, the way it's going to affect black men is that when race punches you in the face, you're going to think to yourself, well, to acknowledge that is to be soft. And now I look like a bitch. Yep.
Osei Frimpong would say that they have the family structure is broke down. All these disease and AIDS are being raised by OnlyFans models. No one's protecting them from a Jordan Peterson saying, "Hey, don't worry about the society. Worry about your room."
Yep.
Like they got hustle culture. They got niggas in Lamborghinis telling them how to make $1 million being an influencer. Literally, when you ask kids what they want to be, I'm gonna be an influencer or something. They don't even know what type of influencer. It's literally. Go ahead.
Influencer became the Hollywood star. That's all. The influencer is what that was the rapper for us. The influencer was what the rapper. And so that's the dreams and aspirations for the attention and for the money and for the women. How much Gen Z care about that? It's questionable.
So basically, what we're saying, if millennials, as bad as millennials are and ill prepared as millennials are, if we don't do something about this shit,
it only gets worse.
We're totally cooked.
Because your children, if you think we were the food for the capitalist class, This is the thing. At least we're getting them. At least for enough millennials, not all, not most. At least we're when Papa die and when Mama die, you're gonna get something, maybe, possibly. We don't have enough. Plus, put it this way: your mom's money that's coming down, your dad's money that's coming down, is the money that's gonna float you for the rest of your life. So you don't really got it like that for the most part, right? So that's the money that's gonna go down to the house. Because let's be very clear, the life insurance money ain't gonna be nothing really anyway, right? So that's 60, 70 grand. You're gonna put 40 of it down to a house, and then the next 20 you're gonna chip away at it for the next 10 years, 5 years, if not tomorrow.
No,
right?
that's gonna be
what
2 years.
2 years, right? So that's what I'm saying. So but our children, what's frightening is that wealth is calcifying in America and at an alarming rate, in the West at an alarming rate, but definitely America. America was supposed to be the country, supposedly, different from Black people, that you rise and fall based off of merit every generation. And in large respect to white people, at least, it's been somewhat consistent that way up until about the last 40 years. And that's why I put up in my what's the Thank you, Compassion. In my community tab, you got to go further back though. But in my community tab, I put that the link from Breaking Points where they showed that this is the first time I think in like 3-4 decades where the billionaire list of under 30-year-olds, it's all generational wealth. So none of these under 30-year-old billionaires got the money on their own. Not a single one. Right? Yeah. All of it was generational, and it was passed down not from their parents, for the most of them, from their grandparents. So that speaks to, first of all, the rule of 3 generations.
Because their parents and their grandparents have locked down the ability for younger people to ascend on that list.
That's my point. Yep, that's my point.
Because when grandpa's worth $100 billion and can basically run everybody else out of the IT sector, you don't have that next generation to build jobs.
Yep.
Or Bill Gates or Steve Jobs.
And what that does for all the people that's kind of out of that, our kids. So first of all, they're going to be hustle culture to the next extreme. But we already know that 40-hour work week for many people is out of here. So gig working, hustling, quote unquote, entrepreneurship, your way out of this shit. And then they're food for the capitalist class because the political class is out to lunch and they're being bought off if they're not already bought, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying in general theme, this is not for all of us. This is not for every child.
I just hope there's enough. I just hope in the future, and I'm not saying it's necessarily your job, maybe it'll be your children's job or whatever. I hope that at a certain point there are enough people who come along and just say, you know what, it's time for a bloodletting. Because it really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Like, you know, and I'm not going to be any more specific than that. But
no, it's understandable. It's understandable.
This shit has gone too far. It's gone too far.
I think what happened yesterday was...
And people are getting bold. They're getting bold.
Oh, yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier about the building of $100 million bunker. You know, some of that stuff, man, is starting to look like let there be cake. You know, some of that is starting to take a real kind of tone to it. You know,
but what happened yesterday? We know the big event that happened yesterday. That the guy who did it was a 20-year-old. He is Z. So I think that's starting to come.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah. Now, I mean, not making an argument for what he did or whatever. Absolutely. You know.
That's why.
But I do think that energy needs to be introduced into what's going on.
Yeah,
because
that French
like
Revolution.
the guy who burned himself, like the guy who burned himself up because of the thing that's happening in historical Palestine. The only thing I would say is, if you're that fired up about something, take a friend or two with you.
Exactly.
That's all I'm saying. Take some folks with you.
What Professor Black Truth tell y'all? Power tools.
Power tools. Because and all these people can be found, especially these people who work for the government. So all these people can be found.
Yeah.
You know, again, at a certain point, you know, when you got people that are worth nearing $200 billion, it's time for a correction, man. That's
what I said.
It's time for a correction.
What we know, and we talk about and observe in this space all the time, they was playing chess, not checkers. they kneecapped the fighting age boys and their fathers.
They did
generations ago to stave off any type of thing we're talking about. And it's just and like I said, I guess the plan is starting to fall apart, and I guess you couldn't.
Let's do this. Compassionate. So we might have to go over the Powell memo next Sunday.
Absolutely,
we might have to go over that Powell memo next Sunday. So we could put in, so we could put it in context. What happened when because this is 1970, so Black Uru was still a kid. BGS was still a kid. We're talking about, so this what Compassionate just said is 100% true. They kneecapped 2-3 generations ago.
Add in the note that this is the 70s, right after they assassinate and get rid of all these people who had the energy that we talking about.
The prominent,
and they said, all right, this what we finna do now at a society scale. So we definitely need to do that.
So for all of the people, being on the left that's horrified of Project 25, this was the Project 25 of its generation, and it actually happened.
Absolutely.
Right, and it actually happened.
Yep. In every realm of society. So that's why it's harder. That's why we don't. But like to your point, I hope. Well, to what I said initially, the millennials is the only hope. As much I know y'all. I know y'all. We don't right now is not making our boomer elders as proud as we possibly could, but we're literally the only hope for the future, because the disease and the A's are left to come of age and take power.
Well, we're the largest generation. Gen Z is too small because extras were a small generation, and not extras were not that large of a generation. And here's the kicker: they had even less kids.
Exactly.
Right. So they had even less kids as a small. So So
and
millennials
aren't even having kids.
And we're the ones that we're connected enough to the past. We're the last generation of the ones that our parents were the ones that were born in the 50s, in the 40s, in the late 40s, the 50s, and the 60s. So we still, and we were still coming of age with the advancement of social media and all of this, right? So we've spent much of our life off the internet, off of social media, right? So that's why for many of us, younger millennials are a little different, but for many of us, we can still socialize off of the internet and not come off as weirdos.
You just brought that to mind. I guess that's been the plan for the past couple decades, is to basically kneecap the millennials, make us so broke, so desperate, we're Ubering and
no, that's exactly what happened though.
That we can't focus on our rite of passage and take it.
When you come to class where ain't no money, there's no money.
Yeah. But the precarity, so the perfect word for what Compassionate just described is the precarity. And because you're precarious, you never get to sit down and become a thinker.
Nope.
Right? Yeah, it's always hustle and bustle and left and right and especially like the gig stuff, the gigification of the economy. I can't put into words for y'all like the way I feel about this shit. But no, the rage is ridiculous.
I think the two biggest issues have been, and I could be wrong, I'm sure BGS will tell me I'm wrong. Lobbying and the tax code.
The lobbying and the tax code?
When I look at the effect of lobbying and the tax code on the distribution of wealth, the building of wealth in this country, it is inextricably linked to where we are right now. It is definitely why you have over people nearing homelessness by the millions, and then you have people who are worth $250 billion.
So huge. There's a whole bunch of stuff behind it. But
let me put that in context for everyone. The top 400 people, I didn't say families, 400 people in America have the same wealth as the entire Black community in America. 400 people got the same wealth as the whole, and that I said all of Black America. That includes Oprah and Jordan and them. Yeah, that includes Oprah and Jordan and Jay-Z them. Exactly. So they're built. Understand? None of our billionaires. If you put all of our billionaires together, I mean all the Black billionaires on the planet, they still don't equal Elon. Let alone Elon, Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett. Right? All of these people, by the way, are 100 billion plus. All of them. Everybody that I just named. Right? And all of our Black billionaires on the planet. I'm not even just talking just about America. Right? First of all, Latin America don't even got a Black billionaire that we know of. Right? And the Caribbean, nope. Right? So it's Africa, it's the continent, and in America. Even Europe don't even got a Black billionaire yet. So all the black billionaires put together still don't equal Elon or Jeff or even Warren Buffett.
And to
or
be
none of them.
really honest, the black billionaires, I mean, what we saw from Kanye is you can go when the right people say you ain't got it no more. You can
Then
go
you ain't
from
got
being
it.
worth $3 billion to 200.
Yep. In our face. And by the way, Black Uru.
I mean, it's not even the so-called wealthy black folks is dubious. So even them is predicated on some higher hegemonic economic purveyor over them.
Yeah. Trusted Citizens United.
Let Jay-Z say the wrong thing about some of them small hat folks in New York, and see how much he's worth, next week.
Well, he got scared when he put out 444, and he was like, "You want to know why Jewish folks got all the buildings in America or whatever, own all the land in America?" And they checked him for that, and that was low key a compliment. He was low key actually jabbing at black people for spending their money frivolously, and Jewish people still checked him. The small hat still checked him, like, nigga, you mentioning us? Why are you mentioning us?" Right? Like, and he hasn't done it since.
About all that wealth.
Come on, man, you already know. So, and it's not necessarily true anyway, because they not running. They can't pull them type of stunts in the South like that.
Well,
that they do in the
it's the line of usual suspects. What's the greatest trick the devil ever pulled? And so the devil don't like being exposed like that.
Yeah,
you don't like that. You don't like that.
If we being honest, like you said, we just watched the thing that piece you found, Z, where they were kind of the dude was dispelling, or Dr. Ball was dispelling this myth of buying power and kind of this it's kind of similar thing that Tone talks about with the decadent veil and how we kind of delude ourselves, or really our women love to delude the entire community so they don't have to live with the fact that it's a trash heap. But
Afro National, thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. He said, "Brilliant brothers tax." Go ahead.
After he said, well, basically in that vein of like Jay-Z did the same thing with that oversimplification. We kind of make it like he in the song, he's kind of telling like, hey, the drug dealers in the community, you buy up the block, and it's like, all right, bro. Like buying up the block with dirty drug money.
Didn't the real Rick Ross try that? How did that work for him?
Exactly. You got the feds was everywhere. So like, come on, let's cut it out. In the same conversation, Dr. Ball could have that conversation with Jay-Z. That's kind of rampant through, which is understandable because I think it's cognitive dissonance of black people don't want to really accept what we talk about in this space. That's why I think this space is cordoned off that way, and even people that meet it have nervous breakdowns because it's not easy to accept this shit.
I watch, especially in the beginning of Yvette and Tone, when they start really like getting notoriety and stuff like that, 2017, 2018-ish, I watch calls come in. And every once in a while, people that weren't acquainted with the information, they would come in with that, the way we spend our money. They would come in with, I got a $1 million house in LA. And I'm like, what's $1 million house in LA?
Right,
what does that mean? Right? So like, and they would come in with that, and they like you're saying, they you could see them grappling with the information and just not being able to register it, because if you're 40 years old, that's 40 years of the problem is us talk. And I always say this, I'm not saying that we couldn't spend money better. That spending money better is not what you think it is, though. You think it's this is just going to end. It's the silver bullet. Yeah, exactly. It's the silver bullet to our poverty, and that's like not the case. And I think what we have a problem with is maybe we're not as autonomous as we think we are.
I would say this. I think when
I use the wrong word. I'm sorry. Better you. One second.
No.
I used the wrong word. It's not autonomy. It's agency. Maybe you don't have the agency you think you do. That's the word I should have used. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Like, I don't disagree with you brothers' points, but I do want to add this one caveat. I think what some people like Jay are talking about when they're saying like buy back the block and certain things like that, if you look back throughout history, what's typically happened was for certain marginalized groups in this country who didn't necessarily get hit with racism the same way we did. The Kennedys are a great example. A lot of people don't know they was rum runners and contraband smugglers. But basically, you have a gray industry which washes that money, and it becomes legitimate money to be used for business purposes. So I think that's really more so what they're
And then
trying
your
to.
son could become president, and your other son could be senator for damn near a lifetime, and your other son could be attorney general. Go ahead.
Better you right. You're 100% right. I get that's the motif where people are kind of getting that spirit from. But like if Nameless were here, he would say, well, that's an in group. We're not we put the car before the horse. We want to behave like an in group, but not be an in group, like buying back the block. And we want to use that as like a hustle strategy and package that in like a spirit of let's get this money, fellas, before we even tackle why we're not units at the familial level.
I'm gonna go all the way left on y'all. Let me go get in my lefty back on y'all. But are we telling more financially well endowed Black folks to gentrify the more poor Black folks?
Basically,
I done messed y'all up with that one. Go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yes.
If we're being honest, yeah.
Yes.
Basically. But and I think in defense of that, I think because like I said, every in group got a hierarchy, and like even in like you said, we look at Chinatown. Like I'm in Chicago, Chinatown. Everybody in Chinatown, Chinatown got some rich, got an upper class that probably own more of that property than the individual Chinese person walking through Chinatown. So that's just a par for the course, but it's better than
low key. This is one of the most open kept secrets about all minority groups in America is the wealth disparity is off the chain intra community.
Yeah,
intra-community, it's the wealth disparity is off the chain, including in the Black community. The wealth disparity in the Black community is off the chain. Them celebrities are literally holding y'all money, y'all. But anyway, I'm not even gonna say that too much. But right, so like, hey, Saint Cyr, you already know reckless tax, right? Reckless stream, still reckless streaming right now. But yeah, no. So that's the interesting part of the conversation is the wealth disparity within communities, quote unquote marginalized communities, right? So yeah, no, the wealth disparity is ridiculous, and including within the Black community. Go ahead.
It's rooted in like something you talk about, and like you said, you put in my brain a lot, which is neoliberalism. Like the individual, this is all only possible in that with that context of the society, especially millennials being hyper individualistic. That we can be taken advantage of in these obvious ways. We can be kind of spun like a top in these obvious ways. We can be kind of we using cognitive dissonance to cope with the precarity of really not knowing what's going on. And that's because of we are not insulated by anything. We are like I keep using it. We're asked out to the market.
You are the food for the market. Real quick. The thing that you live vicariously through are your celebrity class. And more your social media class, right? So those are the ones that give you the illusion that we have far more. And like I've said this multiple times, I want to strip us of that so that then you can have a conversation about what Black Uru was alluding to earlier. But it's difficult to get to that point, Black Uru, that you were alluding to earlier, if so many of us have the delusion of being the temporarily embarrassed millionaire. You can't get to the point where you actually acknowledge the lack of wealth when Jay and everybody else is telling you the problem is you spending your money wrong. And it's not like you don't got it, it's that you're spending your money wrong, right? Go ahead.
It doesn't help that literally every summer or every year you see while you're laying in bed in social media every day, an NBA player getting $140 million contract and being advertised everywhere.
Yeah.
So you see that every day for a year. And so you're thinking it's warped. It is really a decadent veil. It really is.
When we see these NBA players in these NBA and NFL players, right? And they plaster them everywhere, and they show you they white girlfriend and they new Benz drop top and their mansion and whatever, right? And they make sure to tell you they throw it everywhere. This person got $150 million contract. Y'all realize that we're talking about 3,000 people at most.
At most,
the Black community is 43, 45 million Black people, some give or take. You're talking about like 3,000 people, right? I think something like 8% of the countries have millionaires, 8%, and even, or let's say more than like 9%. But even that's not liquid million. We're not even talking about the Black community in particular, right? So people don't really got it like that. But and I think the more people that know that, then you have a different type of conversation, going back to what Black Uru was saying earlier. But the more we believe that we got it, or I'm gonna get it tomorrow regardless, right? The money's just gonna fall in my lap tomorrow. People are not gonna fight if they think that what's gonna happen is I'm going to upset the apple cart, and the money is on the apple cart. And if I upset the apple cart, then I don't get the money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of people are, is they're invested in the system for their sustenance, but not realizing that you have to upset the system to go from sustenance to prosperity, or to at least something more equal, right? And and this is hurting everyone, even white folks. But obviously, if it's hurting them, then it's devastating us, right? So yeah, go ahead.
So I got a little bit of a tinfoil theory, so I'm gonna put my hat on for just a second, if you don't mind. So I think America got both blessed and fucked with its geography, and what we're seeing is the effects of it in our politics. Because of the fact that we don't have to worry about external threats, like say a country like France does, that has borders with other countries that could actually march a motherfucker over there. It means all that attention is focused internally, and as a result, for us as Black folks, the government doesn't really have to worry about anybody abroad too much. So if we get the bulk and the lion's share of that focus, so it's always going to be to use the Boondocks term, the white shadow is always going to be right over our shoulder, meddling in whatever it is we start to build up as soon as we get some traction.
And like James Baldwin said, by our very presence, we will destroy this country, because that you can't function. You can't manage a nation like hyper focused on marginalizing one group of it. Yeah. Like your hierarchy gonna just calcify.
Well, exactly. So what America did is it brought in immigrants, and it locked Black people, it blocked men away, so that those immigrants could become somewhat of the buffer class. But then when you find out what that buffer class is actually made of, it's made up of hopes and dreams and aspirations, right? And aspirations, right? Literally, Jason Black was going through the numbers, and it's funny he said model minority, like you were saying, Compassionate. So 60% of the U.S. population are white folks, but yet they have some 84% of the wealth. 84% of the wealth, they're 60%, right? So they're going to be the U.S. within the next, I think it's by 2053, 2050, something like that. It's not 2053. That's when Black wealth cascades down to plummets to zero, exactly. But around like 2050, I think it is or it might even be in a shorter time than that. It's going to be majority minority country, right? So the U.S. population of whites is only going to be about half, something like 50%. But what does that mean when they're okay? So that's in mid 2030, so like 2035, 2036. Okay, so what does that mean when there's still going to be like some 82, 83%, 80% of the wealth?
Yeah, it's going to look like South Africa. It's going to increasingly look like South Africa.
And that's my point.
Yeah,
and that's my point. And so if you think the swirler divester thing sounds crazy now, imagine keep on turning up the heat on wealth disparity. If you think Latinas and Asian girls and white girls is chasing after these motherfuckers now,
right?
Imagine keep on turning up the heat, right? And I kept on saying it. I kept on saying, if y'all think y'all screaming now, wait until this money come down from the boomers to these white dudes.
Yep. You think racial hyperbole on steroids?
Man, and here's the thing though, Black men have an escape hatch because of our cool. That's why you notice I've never defecated on like the cool factor and the swag and whatever like that. Not for the most part, because we have the ability to make our personality count for something. But some of these Asian dudes that don't got it like that, have fun, right? You better develop some charisma and some character and something, right? So because being in the shadow of the white dudes means that you're going to be a bizarro white dude, right? A failed white patriarch. Yeah, nah. Go ahead.
Question for you, bro. How much do you think? Because in terms of what Uru was saying earlier about the solution, how much do you think that in terms of like immigrants and all these other groups, that the stairway to whiteness is contributing to that inactivity?
You mean like inactivity on their part of pushing back against the dominant society? Oh, that's absolutely. That's probably I mean, I think
It's that in fear.
Yes. I think, but I think all marginalized groups in relation to a dominating society have an element of fear. Even Black folks have. It's something cultural that we are. If we can trace those whatever immigrants you're talking about back to their homeland and what colonialism did there, it unfolded differently to a point where, I think they've accepted the hierarchy that the white folks then set up, and they're at the top of it. So why wouldn't you fight to get to the top of it? They're not trying to dismantle it.
So this is where liberalism, Black people being raised in a liberal state, it doesn't matter whether your state is actually conservative or not, or if America says it leans right. When I say liberalism, that is where not living under a authoritarian state, a old school conservative state, that's what benefits Black people, because you don't have the respect for the hierarchy that others do, which means you're more likely to buck up and challenge it, right? What's going on, Black women, right? So so that's a good thing to a certain extent. So I'm talking about the positives of being raised in a way where you buck up against the system. If you look at these other, like what Xi is doing in China, you would think they would have been on his head tough. Nope. He purged he purged all of them. Yeah. All his detractors. And that's why you saw that very public arrest, or that public taking away of Hu Jintao. That was a very public, right? And that was during their assembly and everything like that. And Hu Jintao looking at Xi like, what the hell is going on? And Xi gave him one of them looks like, you know what this is, right? So like, and that was a very public display of, when I said I'm the one, I meant I'm the one. Right. So I don't see, that's why we have our own, theories about, Biden is the one that's really getting Trump caught up in this, or whoever is associated with the Democratic Party. But Biden couldn't do that publicly. You couldn't watch the Secret Service drag Trump away, right?
You're dealing with a liberal society.
So like exactly my point.
Better your question about with the immigrants' motivation. They not like being from South America or south of the border. In a lot of cases, depending on what group of immigrants you're talking about, is their society more of like collectivized or liberal, independent thinking minded people? Which I think we can already, like you said, Black folks in America are liberals by default. So we definitely look at the hierarchy structures as more malleable than maybe say, like you said, Spanish immigrants come over and just kind of get with the program. And that just makes us unique as a culture, I guess, in this environment, not because of our own decision, but based on the environment. We were disenfranchised within a liberal so-called free market.
So you find other ways.
Yeah, and we couldn't. We have to move forward. We've had to break civil rights and try to reframe things and change shit, because otherwise we would have been relegated to the bottom. Yeah.
If you have to if the structure tells you are a thing and you are a product and you are a thing that produces products, so not only are you a product, but you're a thing that produces products. For you to find your humanity, you got to buck up against that. So from the plantations to now, so you go from the plantations to this new form, this neoliberal bullshit that pretty much tell you ain't shit if you don't got no money or no status. For you to buck up, you're finding your humanity through bucking up against that.
Yeah.
Right.
But
whereas others are just kind of following the stream, right?
Exactly.
So
but I think low key that neoliberalism shit, low key, then damn near almost successfully socialized out that revolutionary spirit that ADOS always had.
Agree.
That's what we've been talking about the whole hour.
Yep.
We almost don't have that. We trying to get a bag.
Straight up. I think, believe this or not, I think Black people are gonna fail up at this. So when you say that, I think there's a part of hyper individuality where you actually meet up on the other side again. I almost feel like we're running in a circle away from each other, and then you're just gonna end up meeting up at the other side of the circle type bullshit, right?
Yeah,
so like,
low-key,
and this is not just some hope shit. The thing is, this hyper individuality is not actually sustainable, and right. So and other groups have a certain fortification. We said this before, right? They have a certain type of fortification that's going to force the wayward brothers and sisters to realize oh shit, right?
Yeah.
So when you and you see this, like when BGS says, you know, the a failed divester is the most pro-black woman on the planet. I think certain people, when they get kicked in the ass and they're reminded you're not me, is that's when you either capitulate and start bleaching the shit out of yourself, Serena Williams, or you become the sister with the onk and the dreads and the, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's where the black community is going to find itself. And as a matter of fact, I think we're already getting there right now. We have to get over this black man, black woman bullshit and the talk of sexuality. I don't think a lot of LGBTQ folks appreciate how much that's really about sowing discord. Nobody give a fuck about who you fucking, bro. Right?
Right.
So what if this motherfucker don't want to really necessarily want to be around you when y'all are not fighting the good fight? So what? Right?
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with black women not necessarily liking my talk. Are we going to go solve problems then? Or are you going to backstab me and then get backstabbed afterward? But that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah. So I think once we get over the sexuality shit and the man woman bullshit, then we can have a real conversation about what's the next step here. But as long as we're having the we got to regulate these Negroes, these straight Negroes in particular, bullshit, then all we're doing is wasting time.
And if that's true, Z, getting past.
Well, going back to your video, kind of on that point. At some point, you know, the coming together thing got to include some reliable punitive action against the misbehavior of women, including and especially someone like Julianne Malvo. Because it's one thing to disagree intellectually, but you know, she misbehaved in that video for her stature, her being a woman, disrespecting that black man. Him being a black man is supposed to mean something to her. It didn't mean anything to her. Him being an educated man, I mean, we can disagree about the specifics. I think I slightly disagree with BGS from the standpoint of the argument about, you know, her being an economist, and so, you know, no one should question a non-economist should request or question her assertions. If her assertions are invalid, and you can prove, perhaps, because I'm assuming his book comes with a bibliography, and I'm assuming that bibliography probably includes some economic references of from peers of Malvo. So at a certain point, there's got to be some way of punishing the women harshly, so that when you have a conversation, when a woman has been a divester, okay, you've been a divester, you fucked white man, and I'm disgusted by that. Okay, let's say I am disgusted by that. Well, let's say we want to have a community. Then, bitch, I got to be able to prove I can trust your ass going forward. How am I going to do that? And the only way I can do that is to then subsequently punish you when you betray me severely. And you can't bring the white man into my fucking home when I do that.
Yeah.
Because if you can still do that, then hell no, I'm not taking your ass back.
And that's why you find so many black women super single going right. We could tie all. They're super single because they won't adhere to the rules that you just laid down, Black Guru. They're super single because we can go through it. They tried. They went in there messing with Pookie. Fine, failed. Got mad because they couldn't tame Pookie. They couldn't get Pookie to act right, or they couldn't get Pookie to wake up overnight and become a millionaire, right? White collar millionaire. So they go mess with the white boys. White boys do what white boys do. They have fun with them 2-3 years in college, then toss them when they move back home, or toss them even before that. Then what is left? It's I will not adhere to a black man's rules, especially not these average niggas. Maybe if it was a rich dude, right? If it's a rich dude, then maybe I'm okay with getting drugged down the hallway and kicked in the face. Maybe I'm okay with that. Maybe you know. Maybe I'm okay because his name is Diddy. Anyway, moving
at
along.
This point,
but,
the problem with that, the problem with the solving this community, this black man, black woman issue is we're at the point where now we negotiating with terrorists.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, like what Uru just illustrated, the type of the parameters in which we could maybe develop something is like starting out in bad faith because you've already betrayed me, and you gotta agree for me to punish you if you betray me again.
Keisha's not the problem here. You want to know who the problem is? Black Uru has alluded to this a million times. It's the white dude. It's the white dude.
Yeah,
Keisha's not the problem.
Yeah.
It's the white dude. It's the white dude.
Because as we see it now,
she's gonna call him. She's gonna call him. We need him not to answer the phone when she calls.
Exactly.
That's it.
And as we see it,
and what tells you that he ain't gonna come?
Yeah.
What in the current paradigm tells you that when she calls Officer, McLaren or whatever some shit, he's not gonna come and fuck with me.
That's a pun in there.
That's the issue.
Right. And
because you can deal with Keisha, you can punish Keisha. Black man can come up with a way of dealing with Keisha if them motherfuckers don't come.
I agree. That's the problem. It really, and they know, and so the ladies know it, and the white dudes know it. As a matter of fact, that's why you have the white dudes with their 1 foot, and that's why I don't trust the fucking white manosphere. Hey, bro, y'all could call other niggas simps all y'all want, bro. These motherfuckers is the superest simp motherfuckers on the planet, and that's because you got no charisma and y'all fucking are not interesting for shit. But right, so like I get it. Like when you rise and fall off of fucking white supremacist daddy, then of course you don't have to develop shit about yourself. And you just rely on white skin
over leveraging.
Exactly, over leveraging on the skin color, bro. Fucking lames, right? And
that's gonna always be the case. So when the environment shifts to them,
honestly, the math says that you should get a Latino woman or an Asian woman, and the reason why I say that is, frankly, I seldom hear them calling the police. Like to me, it's that simple. And see, because if you're not bringing the state into my house, I can really run my house.
I can regulate. Right.
I can raise my children. I can build a community and be somewhat secure that things are going to go the way I need them to go without the sabotage. Now, I'm not saying Asian women don't have issues. Latino women don't have issues. Of course they do. It's going to be either colorism shit or different problems with culture and language. I get all that. But if I can fundamentally be the damn man of my house, that means more than everything else.
Yeah.
And if I got to put up with some bullshit, in-law shit or whatever, I'll do that because in the end, my home is truly my castle.
Yeah. But
in the current paradigm, black man cannot be the castle with Keisha. Cannot have a castle with Keisha. Can't.
You correct.
Can't do
correct it. Because you know as well as I do, and I'm 20 years old junior damn near. I'm 51. You in your 70s. Dude.
60s. You giving Black Uru a decade.
Damn, this motherfucker put me in my 70s. Lord have mercy. Come on, man.
You get a decade. You get a decade.
God damn, man.
Handing out decades over here, damn. Whole 10 years. Go ahead.
This motherfucker he jumped past 65 to 70. Lord have mercy.
You're a 70-year-old when it comes to the wisdom. I'm not talking about chronological. I'm talking about wisdom.
Okay. I'll accept that. I appreciate you.
Let me get
you see that Texas two-step right there, right? That was a Texas two-step right there.
I do agree with the Texas. Now let me get this out. But when you understand just as well as I do, black women are never gonna get rid of the state. They understand that has been their whole leverage, their whole play. As long as we got the state in our lives, you can't tell us black man what to do, how to do, when to do, and why to do. And if you do, I call the dog catch on you. That has been ingrained in our black women's minds. If you asking them to do what the Asian woman's gonna do, the Latino woman's gonna do, not bring the state in the house, they go scoff at you. Nigga, the state been my friend my entire life. My grandma's friend, my auntie's friend, my girlfriend's friend. We got to get rid of him. That's a slap to their face and they know it.
Okay, and
I
let me
would
read
say,
this real quick. Real quick. Better you. And KMS is, and I'm reading this just now. Every generation, the black boys present is refinanced to pay for black girls' future. Gordon Gekko is Cash Keisha, hysterical, true. Also, as a man who was D1 and in various corporate settings, Black Oo's phallic argument, no Diddy, is right. No, we know. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Hey, them peen jokes is coming. Hopefully not. Go ahead. Better you go ahead.
so my thing would be with this, with the involvement of the state, is in particular where that has come into conflict with a lot of us has been in the realm of family law. And my from my own personal experience, I would say, hey, look, once you, especially if you have kids involved, and say for instance conflicts over like visitation and things like that, there's certain agreements that depend on your state that you exit that marriage with, and those documents are legally binding, and you can take that bitch to court over it. Like beat that bitch over the head with a parenting plan. That's what I had to do with my ex-wife. Like real talk. Because she was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna give you your son for Christmas." I'm like, "All right, cool. I'm gonna file police reports. Then I'm gonna go down to the goddamn courthouse. Then I'm gonna press them. I'm gonna try my best to twist the judge's arm to throw your fucking ass in goddamn jail."
Okay.
So,
let me with all due respect, brother. I first of all, I applaud your effort. I congratulate any success that you've had. We can't win as a collective of black men doing that. You know, while you're doing all that, Sung Yi is planning and building and working together with the other Sung Yi. I don't know these Asian names, y'all. Correct me. You know, they're while you fighting with this bitch over your own child, these people are working together with their children. That child you're fighting over, brother, is in Sung Yi's laundromat or convenience store or whatever, stocking the shelves. While you fighting in court, paying money, taking time off of work, we cannot win with that. And that's why I said earlier about the Latino women and the Asian women. I'm looking at it from like a time productivity standpoint. You know, yeah, we love our children. We want our children. We want to take care. But man, you only got so many bullets in the chamber. You only got so many hours in the day. You only got so many days in your life.
You say we can't scale that.
Right, and it's too few, and then when you combine that with the fact that black men have the fewest, has the least wealth, fewest number is only about 5 or 6% of us in the whole American population. Only probably about at best 4 3/4 of the electorate when you account for all the brothers who can't vote because of prior prison
charges
and shit. Right. We don't. It's not time beneficial for the majority of us to be fighting that fight. That's all I'm saying. I'm not taking anything away from what you achieved personally. I'm happy for you and whatever. I'm just saying, to me, I would have wished you had just got you an Asian woman. No, all due respect.
No, I hear you. This is what I'm getting at, Mr. Uru. When you beat them over the goddamn head with those same things, you take the man off the table. Because guess what? In the same way, at least I can say this for the state of Georgia. I technically don't even need an attorney. It's simply me actually getting a police report, which is calling the police if she don't show up with my child. And it's me going, and it's not me defending myself. It's, Your Honor, these are the reports. And what I'm saying is, in similar situations, if they want to go there, let's go there. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. So if you really want to go down that road,
you still have the state. You still got the state in your business.
Yeah, you got to get
in your child's business. Every time you call the police, that shit can go left like a motherfucker. You could be totally in the right. We see it all the time. You could be totally in the right. You can have your papers in order. You can be totally presentable, whatever. All it takes is the wrong cracker to show up, and you dealing with some totally different bullshit. So again, I applaud what you're able to do. I don't want you to misunderstand my rebuttal to what you present. I'm saying that's such a tremendous waste of time and effort and resources and money and goodwill. You could be doing so much better with your life than putting up with that shit. That's my point. And I don't want to as great as it is what you did, to me, it just pales in comparison to go and get you a woman that's going to be on your program, go give you 5 or 6 kids, and y'all going to build y'all some shit as a family. That's just a vastly superior scenario than putting up with all that shit. I want to emphasize that point.
Let me read this right, because my battery's about to die too. So let me, real quick. The Black Toxic Masculinist, thank you for the super chat, says KKK can't castle with Keisha. Hysterical. You see what you did, Black Guru? That's the term now. That can't castle with Keisha. Can't castle with Keisha. Can't do it.
Pretty good work.
That's a pretty good work. That is can't castle with Keisha. Right. And thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the super chat. Go ahead. I'm better.
I tried twice and it never worked. Trust me, I literally tried with Keisha twice. Married.
I was just saying to Mr. Uru, I ain't took nothing as anything. I personally see it as a hey, that's one way to try to take it off. Like you want to go there and try to beat
there's multiple ways of skinning the cat. You're right about that. But it's just I get what Black Lou was saying, where it works for you. It worked for Jeff Brown had a similar story with one of his exes. Yes, the same Jeff Brown that used to be on Zoe and has his own thing on the internet now. He has the same story, so it definitely could happen, and it is similar to what you said. He just said I kept on badgering her over the head. Now if I give her 20, she owe me however much back, right? So that's one of his talking points. But the scalability of that is what we're saying, like that, and just the average brother who's working a 9 to 5 and precarious, and he can't do that. Go ahead.
When I think about the fact that Black people have collectively less than 3% of the wealth, I think about not only the money itself or the wealth, but I think about time. And the older you get, the more you realize the only real wealth you have is time. Beyond anything else, how much time you have to do something productive. That's more valuable than anything else, because the right time applied in the right situation and circumstances, and you could become a billionaire. That's an exaggerated, scenario, but it's true. So when you take time out, having to do what you described, you're neutralizing those other much greater, we were talking The Economist earlier. There's something I always recall from my economics classes, always very important to me. It's this term called the opportunity cost. What's the opportunity cost? The opportunity cost is what you could have done had you not been doing this other bullshit. And so when I listen to you describe, the empire that you could have built, the home, all the things you could have done, the marriage you could have had, the children you could have made, the whole family tree and generation you could have produced, who would then, the 5 children you could have made, and then the 5 children they made, and then the 5 children they made, and then before you're dead, at your last family reunion, you're sitting there right in the middle of 200 people or whatever. Instead of doing that, you putting up with Keisha.
Yeah,
that's how I look at it.
So once again, I'm gonna let Black Guru have the last word, because he does this every time. He knows the clock is ticking. I'm telling you, this is on purpose. I'm telling you, right? So Joe says, and thank you for the super chat. Lobbying and the tax code is like making up new rules in a game of 4 squares, so they never leave square one, bruh. Like I said, shout out to Compassionate. I'm gonna try Sunday. Let's see, because that's gonna be a regular stream too. But let's see on Sunday if we don't go over the Powell memo, so that we could just put in context because I want us to be very careful. We already know we're gonna be lobbied all type of different ways coming up, because we are in voting season, right? This is election season. So y'all already know they're gonna come to us with the bull crap, and that's the left and the right. And whatever you vote for, whoever you vote for, that's up to you, right? Whatever side of the political aisle you're on. But I want us to actually have an understanding of that both of these parties got bought out and who bought them out and the ideology behind buying them out and who might actually run this, right? So yeah, and Afro Nationalist is Black Uru Wisdom Tax. I'm telling you, that's why I always put him as last, right? And it's like, it's almost not on purpose, but he just gives such a good closing statement. It's like, what can you do with that, right? So on that note, y'all, we'll end right there, and y'all have a great rest of your day. Y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content. So we'll pause right here. Love, peace, and chicken grease. All right, y'all. Mr. Z out. Goddamn, battery's at 8%. All right, we out of here.